right, guys?
7, 6,
Go.
4,
Jump.
Oh, boy! 2! Wait a minute. It's New Year's Eve 1999. What the hell are you people doing watching this crap?
2000. The year that ended the previous millennium was as strange and chaotic as the Y2K scare. The 1990s brought the end of the Cold War, ushering in a time of relative peace and prosperity around the globe, as well as the proliferation of the World Wide Web, grunge music, and frosted tips. The 2000s would build on that, as cell phones became ubiquitous, civil rights took some giant leaps forward, and social media began to take over our lives. At the same time, the decade brought the devastating terrorist attacks of 9/11 and the subsequent Iraq War. It was all that, plus more iconic gaming consoles than you can possibly imagine. We're going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in the aughts. This is Timeline. Won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Because this one is all about 2000. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below your favorite memory from the new millennium. Now, are you ready to see what happened in the year 2000?
Freaking New Year, dude.
Freaking New Year.
Okay, about that new millennium thing. Because there was no year zero, the new millennium wouldn't technically start until 2001. But that didn't stop people from partying like it was 1999 on December 31st, 1999. The excitement of a new century coming off the heels of the booming economy of the Clinton years and the seemingly infinite promise of the internet kicked off the year 2000 with an optimistic mood. The year ahead would see its share of tragedy and political controversy. But ultimately, it would turn out to be more like a continuation of the positive and prosperous 90s than like the turbulent decade that was to follow.
Get ready to
This is 2000.
Hey there, Weird Historians! This video is sponsored by Mondly, offering a limited-time 65% off lifetime access during their back-to-school sale at mondly.app/weirdhistory. Has studying weird history from around the world ever left you wanting to learn another language? Mondly is the time machine co-pilot you need. The app has access to 41 foreign languages from 33 native languages, creating over 1,000 different language combinations. If your native language is Catalan and you'd really like to learn Farsi, you don't know what I'm saying. But also, Mondly has got you covered. Learn via daily lessons recorded by fluent speakers to ensure proper pronunciation, then test your knowledge with weekly and monthly quizzes to review and recap what you've learned. Best of all, you can learn on your own time with real-time feedback provided by the speech recognition chatbot to help quickly improve your pronunciation without the need to wait for a human teacher. Get lifetime access to all languages for 65% off by visiting mondly.app/weirdhistory or following the link in the description. Thanks again to Mondly for sponsoring this video.
Hey, Homer, weren't you the plant's Y2K compliance officer?
Absolutely.
Must have been hard debugging all those computers, Homer?
Doing what now?
Before 2000, technologists sounded the alarm about an imminent computer disaster known as the Y2K bug. The issue was that most software was written to calculate the year using 2 digits, omitting the 19. Once the date rolled over to 2000, the software would think it was the year 1900 again, and planes would start falling out of the sky, allegedly.
Oh no, it's happening.
The U.S. spent almost $150 billion correcting the software to avoid the disaster, and the changeover came and went with no major problems. Miami Dolphins quarterback Dan Marino was already considered one of the best to ever play the game when he clinched the final win of his 17-year career on January 9th, besting the Seattle Seahawks 20-17 in what would also be the last football game ever to be played in the Seattle Kingdome. Today, Marino is often regarded as the greatest quarterback who never won a Super Bowl. Despite his lack of Super Bowl rings, Dan Marino was voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility on August 7, 2005, in a class that included fellow quarterback Steve Young.
I'm gonna start licking my fingers a little bit, because you know what happens when I lick my fingers.
Goodbye, Charlie Brown. Tonight, a final farewell to the characters that millions grew up with and the man that gave them life.
On February 12, 2000, Peanuts creator Charles M. Schulz succumbed to a heart attack at age 77.
When you die,
If you ever die, that's the end of it.
My children just don't want anyone else to do it. And I've seen too many strips go downhill terribly because the syndicate tried to hang on to them and have other people do them.
Corporate creators.
Yeah.
After single-handedly producing every single Peanuts comic over the strip's 50-year run, Schultz had retired the previous December, after his health became too poor to continue. His final Peanuts cartoon was a single panel of Snoopy writing a letter, containing a heartfelt goodbye message from Schultz to his fans. The day after his passing, newspapers published a reproduction of his final comic, adorned with images from throughout the strip's run.
To die the day that the last strip appears verifies the sentence that he once put forth, which was, "Cartooning is my life."
Back home on the couch, the PlayStation 2 released in Japan on March 4th, pulling in $250 million in sales on its first day. The system would make its North American debut 7 months later, on October 26th.
Am I here for the PlayStation 2?
Excited by the system's compatibility with previous generation titles, a rarity in those days, gamers cleaned out store shelves, and the entire run of 1.4 million units was sold out by the end of the month. Nearly 25 years later, it remains the best-selling video game console of all time.
Respect the pouch! Respect it!
On March 12th, during his celebration of the first Mass of Lent at St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, Pope John Paul II asked for forgiveness for the transgressions of the Catholic Church that have occurred over its lengthy history. The Pope covered a long list for which to seek pardon, which included transgressions against other Christians, women, Jews, indigenous peoples, and specifically for violence against followers of other faiths, such as the Crusades and the Inquisition. Better late than never. On this day of pardon, the Pontiff also stressed forgiveness for those who have persecuted the Church and its followers.
I said, whose number do you need?
You don't know 600 plaintiffs' numbers by heart. Annabelle Daniels.
Annabelle Daniels, 714-454-9346.
Okay, look, I think we got off on the wrong foot here.
That's all you got, lady. 2 wrong feet and ugly shoes.
530 members of the fringe religious group Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments of God perished in a fire in the Kanunga district of Uganda. Initially believed to be a mass suicide, the discovery of hundreds of more bodies revealed the fire to be an act of foul play, reminiscent of Jonestown. Investigators would blame the movement's founders for the nearly 830 murders, but whether the perpetrators themselves also died in the fire remains a matter of debate. The hit song Say My Name from R&B trio Destiny's Child, featuring future Queen Bey herself, reached #1 on the Billboard charts on March 18th. The group's second #1 single won the 2000 MTV Video Music Award for Best R&B Video and was nominated for 4 Grammys.
Say my name, Destiny's Child.
Ultimately winning Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocals and Best R&B Song.
I can't believe we're winning a Grammy, ladies.
Sticking with music, after being repeatedly delayed by legal proceedings, NSYNC's third studio album, No Strings Attached, finally dropped on March 21st. Powered by singles like Bye Bye Bye, It's Gonna Be Me, and This I'll Promise You, No Strings Attached was a smash, arriving just as the boy band trend was beginning to fade. The album is often cited as the best of the teen pop genre. Golf superstar Tiger Woods lost the 2000 Players Championship PGA Golf Tournament to Hal Sutton by a single stroke on March 27th.
41-year-old Hal Sutton is about to become the oldest champion in the history of this event.
Sutton, who had previously won in 1983, took home $1.8 million for his victory, the first 7-figure winner's share the tournament ever offered. Woods, however, would win his first of 2 Players' Championships the following year, ironically triumphing over Vijay Singh by just 1 stroke. Guess he was still upset about that prize money. On April 3rd, a federal judge ruled that Microsoft had violated 2 sections of the Sherman Antitrust Act's anti-monopoly laws by integrating their Internet Explorer browser into the Windows operating system. The judge ordered that Microsoft be broken up into a browser company and an operating system company, but that ruling was later reversed on appeal. The government would finally settle the case in 2002. Baseball history was made on April 10th, when future Hall of Fame outfielder Ken Griffey Jr.
just hit his 400th career home run.
The history-making dinger came on a pitch from Rolando Araujo in a game between Griffey's Cincinnati Reds and the Colorado Rockies.
I told my dad, it's a cheap way of not buying him a gift on his birthday. So, he'll get this ball.
At just 30 years and 141 days old, Griffey became the youngest player in league history to ever achieve the feat. America's pastime rang in the new year by opening 2 new stadiums on the same day. On April 11th, both the Detroit Tigers and the San Francisco Giants played in their new respective homes for the first time, at Comerica Park in Detroit and Oracle Park in San Francisco. It was very nearly 3 new stadiums that opened on the same day, but the Houston Astros played their inaugural game in Minute Maid Park 4 days earlier, on April 7th. All 3 parks are still in operation today.
Holy crap! You're freaking Law's on from Metallica!
Maybe I wouldn't have to myself out if you kids didn't steal my music.
We're not stealing, okay? We're just sharing with each other,
On April 13th, Metallica sued Napster, claiming the file-sharing service, which was offering their entire catalog to download for free, was engaged in copyright infringement and racketeering. Because it was. But it was so cool, you guys. The first such suit by a high-profile band triggered an avalanche of similar actions from other recording artists. A proposed settlement would have seen Napster bought out by Bertelsmann AG. But when that fell through, the once popular file-sharing service was left with no choice but to file for Chapter 11 and liquidate its assets.
Napster. Sharing's only fun when it's not your stuff.
On April 22nd at 5:15 a.m., federal agents removed 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez from the home of relatives in Miami. The boy had been found alone on a raft off the coast of Florida after his mother perished during their escape from Cuba. Backed by Fidel Castro, the boy's father demanded his return to Cuba, and the case drew widespread media attention. The raid was executed after the boy's relatives ignored an order from U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno to turn the boy over to authorities.
My hope is that people will look at this little boy and get him into a situation where he can live a normal life.
Gonzalez, now married with a child, was elected to lead his local committee for the defense of the revolution in 2015. And in 2023, he successfully ran as a candidate in the Cuban parliamentary election, taking office on April 19, 2023.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Eminem's third studio album, the Marshall Mathers LP, dropped on May 23rd, featuring now iconic singles like The Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am, and Stan. The album sold over 1.7 million copies in its first week, making it one of the fastest-selling albums in history. As of 2022, it remains one of the 15 best-selling albums of the 21st century.
As always, should you or any member of your armed force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow all knowledge of your actions. And Mr. Hunt, the next time you go on holiday, please be good enough to let us know where you're going.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
If I let you know where I'm going, I won't be on holiday.
What brought you here, if it's not the money?
Everybody's here for the money. I'm not going to listen to everybody's sob stories and then weigh them.
Greg.
I believed him for a minute.
63-year-old Peter Houghton of England became the first person to receive a permanent artificial heart, the Jarvik 2000, to kick off the summer months on June 20th.
To go back just to walk around the local reservoir or the duck pond, was such a joy.
Prior to Houghton's surgery, the device had only been used as a temporary bridge to a heart transplant, but the Jarvik 2000 would keep Houghton alive another 7 years. He passed away on November 25th, 2007. The 21st of June saw Scotland vote to abolish Section 28, a group of laws that prohibited the promotion of homosexuality by local authorities. Section 28 had been in effect since 1988 after being developed and passed into law by the United Kingdom Parliament during the ministry of Margaret Thatcher. But Scotland's Parliament, devolved from the UK Parliament in 1999 with prescribed powers, voted 99-17 to erase Section 28 after months of heated debate between politicians, LGBT activists, and church authorities.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience.
On June 29th, Eminem's mom, Debbie Mathers-Briggs, filed a lawsuit against her son for defamation. At issue were the lyrics to his hit My Name Is, in which he says, "My mom smokes more dope than I do." Claiming that the song's popularity made it impossible for her to find work, the rapper's mother asked a judge to award her $10 million in damages. The suit was ultimately settled for a mere $25,000, most of which went to Mathers-Briggs' lawyer.
Will the real Marshall Mathers please stand up and take responsibility for his actions?
Is this real life?
I've got to study. You'll survive. Later.
Jake, keep an eye on him for me.
Sure.
The easy-to-use Nokia 3650 camera phone with video recorder.
During iconic grunge band Pearl Jam's set at the Roskilde Festival in Denmark on June 30th, over 100,000 fans were caught in a crowd crush that left 9 people dead.
3 steps back, please. 1, 2, 3.
The band would blame lax safety procedures and a lack of action on behalf of venue security. Deeply affected by the unfortunate events, the group has continued to mark the tragedy with statements every 10 years.
And we'll always just be so sorry for the tragic events that took place.
On July 8th, tennis legend Venus Williams won her first Grand Slam singles title at Wimbledon. Just 20 years old, Williams defeated Lindsay Davenport in the final round. The win would catapult Williams into the upper echelons of elite players and would turn out to be the first in a string of major victories. She would win the singles title at Wimbledon again in 2001, 2005, 2007, and 2008.
Many American legislators have contended that debate over mutant issues should be the primary focus of what is a strictly diplomatic affair.
Look out!
Get out of my bar, freak.
July 29th brought wedding bells for movie star Brad Pitt and Friends star Jennifer Aniston. The couple exchanged vows on the beach in Malibu, California, before 200 of their closest acquaintances. The extravagant nuptials, which were believed to have cost well over $1 million, featured 4 different bands, a 13-minute fireworks display, and 50,000 individual flowers. The power couple split just under 5 years later, on January 7, 2005. The couple told People magazine they remained committed and caring friends with great love and admiration for one another. But Aniston would officially file for divorce on March 25, 2005.
You guys still talk, you and Brad?
You know, we've exchanged good wishes and all that sort of stuff to each other, but it's not a constant thing.
On August 4th, the United Kingdom celebrated the 100th birthday of the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth. Born Lady Elizabeth Angela Marguerite Bowes-Lyon on August 4, 1900, she would marry Prince Albert, the second son of King George V, who would ascend to the throne as King George VI in 1936. She took the throne herself following her husband's death in 1954. Elizabeth's centennial drew over 40,000 well-wishers together outside Buckingham Palace. Celebrated actor Sir Alec Guinness became one with the Force on August 5th. Guinness appeared in dozens of classic movies, including Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. But he's best known for playing Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars trilogy.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Guinness had been diagnosed with prostate cancer earlier in the year and was further diagnosed with liver cancer just 2 days before his death. After a long development process that began way back in 1998 under the codename Dolphin, Nintendo finally unveiled the GameCube on August 24th. Despite a widely praised game selection, its lack of multimedia features led to a mixed reception and slower than expected sales. After 18 years, 7 Tony Awards, and 7,485 performances, Andrew Lloyd Webber's blockbuster musical Cats closed its run at Broadway's Winter Garden Theater on September 10th.
I'll be really choked when that sign comes down because it's been part of the New York skyline for a long time.
I just did it for fun. Never thought that it would ever get on a stage.
The production began on October 7th, 1982, surpassing a chorus line to become the longest-running show in Broadway history. But after the 10th of September, all we had left were the memories. That is, until Cats made the jump from the stage to the screen in a major motion picture that premiered on December 20th, 2019, nearly 20 years later. But unlike the stage production, the movie version was so poorly received that not even Mr. Mistopheles could save it. On September 12th, the Netherlands House of Representatives passed a law legalizing same-sex marriage, as well as same-sex divorce and adoption. The bill would be approved by the Senate a month later and received royal assent from Queen Beatrix in December. The law took effect in April of 2001, officially making the Netherlands the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage.
Wake up! Don't go to New York. I thought we were going to Morocco. There is no Morocco. There's not even a Penny Lane. All these rules and all these sayings and nicknames.
Honey, you're too sweet for rock and roll.
Rolling into October, Yugoslavian President Slobodan Milosevic resigned from office on the 5th after his attempt to rig an election triggered mass protests across the country. A corrupt authoritarian dictator accused of encouraging police brutality, suppressing the freedoms of speech and the press, engaging in election fraud, and assassinating his political enemies, Milosevic employed the government Federal Elections Committee to change election results in certain regions, unsuccessfully trying to trigger a runoff with his opponent, who was ultimately declared the winner with a narrow but definitive majority. After his resignation, he was eventually jailed, and on June 29, 2001, he was turned over to The Hague to be prosecuted for war crimes committed in Kosovo. But Milosevic succumbed to a heart attack before the conclusion of his trial. That's one way to stay out of prison.
I went in and just simply, into a little saucer, then took the saucer and fed it to Geppetto. That's what I named him, Geppetto.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Back in 2000, NASCAR fans were treated to a thrill on October 15th, when racing legend Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his final NASCAR race in the Winston 500 at Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Despite being in 18th place with only 4 laps to go, the superstar racer was able to break through the pack and narrowly edge out his competitors, including his own son, for his historic final win.
Have you ever won the Winston $1 Million bonus before?
It's the first time I've won it. I've been eligible several times, so be good going to Vegas now with $1 million in my pocket, huh?
A little bit nicer. You make this big sigh. I'm just trying to get by. Could you just move your legs?
What are you doing? Are you looking at my breast? You're looking at my breast.
I'm not looking at your breast. I'm trying to get to my seat.
He's looking at my breast.
Yeah, you and your special breast. Just excuse me, please.
Just go by without stepping on my foot.
Right, you wear that dress because you want people to look at your shoes, right?
The so-called Subway Series between the New York Mets and the New York Yankees came to a close on October 26th, the Yankees securing a decisive victory after 5 games. Led by Series MVP Derek Jeter, the victory marked the Bronx Bombers' 3rd consecutive World Series championship and the 26th in the history of the franchise. Moving into November, the International Space Station welcomed its first crew on the 2nd. The team, which included a NASA astronaut and 2 Russian cosmonauts, arrived on the Explorer 1 shuttle 2 days after blasting off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Their primary mission was to install and activate the station's life support and communications systems, and to work with 3 other visiting shuttle crews to continue and complete the assembly of the ISS.
Ow! Ouch, Charlie!
Hey, Toucan Sam, how would you make milk more fun?
Why, with Fruit Loop cereal straws, of course.
Just dip them in and sip, sip, sip. And pull them out and munch, munch, munch. All together now, dip, sip, munch. Fruit Loop cereal straws, colorful fruit-flavored cereal with a creamy coating inside. So fun to dip, sip, munch.
The U.S. presidential election between Republican George W. Bush and Democrat Al Gore took place on November 7th. But as the evening went on, it became increasingly clear the race was too close to call. Though initially called by the networks for Gore, the vote in Florida came to favor Bush by such a margin that Gore conceded the election, only to retract that concession at 3 a.m. the next morning.
This race is simply too close to call. And until the recount is concluded and the results in Florida become official, our campaign continues.
For the past few weeks, we have been thrown into a horrifying and tumultuous nightmare known as the recount. Regular people hand-counting ballots to make sure the right vote was cast. A process rife with fraud and democratic voodoo mind-reading.
The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately had to get involved, rejecting a deadline extension and halting the limited recount of votes in several counties ordered by the Florida Supreme Court. And Bush's victory remained. The same day, Hillary Clinton won her first term as senator from New York.
Tonight, I'm just overwhelmed by the kindness and support that I've been given.
Clinton's victory marked the first time the Empire State had a female senator, the first time a U.S. First Lady was elected to public office, and the first time anyone simultaneously held the titles of First Lady and Senator. Speaking of firsts, 16 years later, on July 26, 2016, Clinton would become the first woman in U.S. history nominated for the office of president by a major party. 155 people perished in what would become known as the Kaprun disaster on the morning of November 11th. A funicular became stuck in a tunnel in the side of a mountain and caught fire, trapping nearly every passenger inside. The track was decommissioned and a monument commemorating the victims was installed at its base. More than 2 decades later, it's still the biggest rail disaster in Austria's history. 5 days later, on November 16th, President Bill Clinton became the first U.S. president to visit Vietnam since the Vietnam War. Clinton described the trip as a new page that would put an end to the divisions between the U.S. and Vietnam.
Once we met here as adversaries, today we work as partners.
The president's visit would include a televised address from Hanoi University and an effort to make a full accounting of American servicemen still missing in action since America's withdrawal from the country in 1975. Now we just need to get that information to Rambo.
Mr. Grinch, my name is Cindy Lou Who.
You see, even now, the terror is welling up inside you. Denial is to be expected in the face of pure evil.
小龙，通通出去，把门关上。
After weeks of legal battles, Al Gore conceded the presidential election to George W. Bush 12 days before Christmas. In a televised speech, Gore expressed disappointment with the Supreme Court's decision.
Almost a century and a half ago, Senator Stephen Douglas told Abraham Lincoln, who had just defeated him for the presidency, "Partisan feeling must yield to patriotism."
And so it was. Partisan rancor has not been a problem in American politics since. On December 15th, 14 years after triggering the worst nuclear accident in history, the Chernobyl nuclear plant in Ukraine was finally closed down. The reactor, which still provided the country with about 5% of its electricity, was the only one remaining after the 1986 meltdown, an explosion that cost thousands of lives, although the actual number may be higher.
Jesus! Can I count on you people?
Sorry, Everett.
Well, all right. We take off through that bayou. Then...
Wait a minute. Who elected you leader of this outfit?
Well, Pete, I figured it should be the one with the capacity for abstract thought.
Come on, baby, light my fire! Yes! Look what I have created! I have made fire! I have made fire!
Things are changing, and Montgomery Ward.
After over 100 years of being in business, popular mail order catalog turned department store chain Montgomery Ward called it quits on December 28th after losing nearly all of its business to online retailers and competitors like Walmart and Target. On December 28th, it announced it would shut down its remaining 250 stores, fire its 35,000 employees, and cease doing business. And that's how 2000 came to a close, with a controversial presidential election and a grim omen of the future for brick-and-mortar retailers. 2001 was right around the corner, bringing with it one ring to rule them all and a Tuesday morning in September that would change the world forever. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2001. 2001, A Space Odyssey. The year that began our first step into the future.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Although it was a little bit different than what the Jetsons predicted. After the scandalous end of the Clinton administration and an almost as scandalous election process to nominate the first president of the 21st century, Americans were hoping that the 2000s would be a bit less chaotic and more like Star Trek.
Who wants to counteract paradise, Jim boy?
Hey, we just survived the Y2K bug, so anything was possible. However, all of that optimism for the new millennium evaporated come September. But it wasn't all dark. Consumers got their first taste of some exciting new gadgets from Apple and Microsoft. We got to see Christopher Walken dance on a ceiling, Earthlings got an unprecedented view of their closest neighbor, and there were even some hobbits running around in there too.
It's wonderful to see you, Gandalf.
We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, and entertainment, and all that was weird in the 2000s. This is Timeline. Get ready, because this one is all about 2001. Now, it's time for the dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the Mark Wahlberg one. Ringing in the new year, Greece adopted the euro and became the 12th Eurozone country on the 1st of January.
It's a big cost, this transformation from the Greek drachma to euro, but this is the cost for the time.
The decision added momentum and stability to the effort to make a European Union, and also made Greece one of the first countries to launch euro coins and banknotes. But vending machines still spit those out too. 1 week later, Apple launched its digital music platform, iTunes. Today, the App Store and iTunes are a familiar part of daily life for millions of people. But at the time, the sale of digital music seemed like more of a novelty. After all, who the hell wants to listen to music on their computer? It's not like you can carry it around in your pocket everywhere you go. Wikipedia switched its servers on for the first time on January 15th, going online with a simple goal: to be a totally free, open-source encyclopedia for everything. The earliest versions of an online dictionary date back to the early 90s, but Wikipedia's idea of user-edited articles grew out of Nupedia, a more structured online dictionary project that didn't take off.
You guys, I'm really gonna miss this place.
Let's all promise that in 10 years from today, we'll meet again, and we'll see what kind of people we've blossomed into.
Yeah!
What time you want to meet?
Let's meet in the morning so we can make a day of it.
After an unprecedented election that went all the way to the Supreme Court, George W. Bush was sworn in as the 43rd President of the United States on the 20th.
Preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
But with the new president finally in office after the chaos and confusion of the previous 2 months, Americans were ready for a return to normalcy. But that would be shattered permanently within the coming months.
The main course and the rest of you won't be served until 7 hours later. I guess you wish now you fed the rest of me to the dogs.
No, Mason. No, I much prefer you the way you are.
2001 experienced an early bad omen when NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt suffered a fatal crash in the final lap of the Daytona 500 on February 18th.
Undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. We've lost Dale Earnhardt.
With 7 NASCAR Cup championships under his belt and numerous promotions, he was one of the sport's biggest icons, which made his sudden death at age 49 all the more shocking. His son, NASCAR star Dale Earnhardt Jr., was also competing that day, finishing the race just moments after Earnhardt's accident. Rocketing into March, Russian space station Mir ended its tenure in the stars on the 23rd, after spending 15 years in orbit. Its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere was controlled and orchestrated by Roscosmos, Russia's federal space agency. The station landed back on Earth near Fiji, causing debris to fall into the South Pacific Ocean. There may be still some pieces out there, if you want a souvenir. Speaking of falling to Earth, World Championship Wrestling got suplexed for the final time on March 26th, when it was acquired by longtime rival Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation.
I, Vince McMahon, bought my competition. The very fate of WCW is in my hands.
Despite dominating the WWF in ratings and ticket sales for many years, WCW struggled to find footing as professional wrestling began appealing to more adult audiences, and the company became the first casualty of the WWF's growing monopoly. But not everything was going Vince McMahon's way. After a lengthy legal battle with the World Wildlife Foundation, the WWF would be forced to rebrand to World Wrestling Entertainment, or the WWE, just 14 months later.
I never want to hear my brother's name mentioned again.
You're our uncle? I don't see why you won't help him.
You think I want to babysit my brother the rest of my life? Watch out for Gregorio. Take care of Gregorio. Make sure Gregorio knows right from wrong. Not anymore. Machete's not responsible for nobody but Machete.
8 seasons in Japan for the Oryx Blue Wave, Ichiro Suzuki became the first Japanese player to join Major League Baseball when he suited up for the Seattle Mariners the day after April Fool's Day. The superstar would go on to play a staggering 19 seasons, and today is considered one of the best players in the history of the sport. 5 days later, NASA launched the Mars Odyssey, an unmanned spacecraft sent to monitor the Red Planet, primarily for traces of water or past life. The probe was sent into space from Cape Canaveral and arrived in Mars's orbit just over 6 months later, on October 24th.
Full rainbow. It's a double rainbow all the way.
Fushigi, I don't know what it is, but it's the coolest thing ever, and I can do it.
This is Fushigi, the magic gravity ball. With maneuvers like the prayer cross, the enigma, levitation, and so many more. No strings, no tricks. Magic? Maybe. An illusion? You decide.
Orbiting back to sports, Virginia Tech quarterback and general college phenom Michael Vick was selected first overall in the NFL draft by the Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons select Michael Vick, quarterback, Virginia Tech.
And when my name was called, I can't explain it. I wish every kid in America, can experience that feeling.
Vick had recently been named the Big East Rookie of the Year and the Big East Offensive Player of the Year in 1999, and would go on to be a 4-time Pro Bowl player and have his jersey prominently featured in Bad Boys 2. But his promising career would come to a shocking and abrupt end 6 years later, when Vick was sentenced to 21 months in federal prison for his involvement in a dogfighting scandal. After his release, Vick would return to the NFL for several more seasons, ultimately retiring in 2017.
Christopher Walken, did you know that he had a dancing background?
I could tell he just loved dancing, and nobody ever asked him to dance. At a certain point, he just got quiet and he's like, I'm 57 years old and I don't know when I'm going to get to do this again. So lucky.
Excusez-moi. C'est vous? Si, c'est vous, ça.
John Paul II became the first pope to set foot inside a Muslim mosque on the 6th of May. JP II entered the Great Mosque of Damascus, sometimes referred to as the Umayyad Mosque, in the company of a group of Muslim clerics, and then prayed at a shrine of St. John the Baptist. He held nearly 50 meetings between the Catholic Church and the leaders of the Muslim faith over the course of his long tenure as pope, in an effort to decrease tensions between the two faiths. 12 days later, the world of sports suffered another tragedy when a heated football match between Ghana's 2 most popular teams turned deadly. Riot police filled the Accra Sports Stadium with tear gas after angry fans started throwing chairs onto the pitch. But the exits were all locked, trapping 40,000 panicked fans inside for over an hour. 126 people were crushed or trampled in the ensuing chaos. And the incident remains one of the worst stadium disasters in the history of the sport.
Ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No, layers. Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers? You get it. We both have layers.
Oh, you both have layers. Oh. Not everybody like onions.
I'm sorry about your father, but he's in a much better place now.
You were so right about that.
Clearly, something went terribly wrong.
What do you think, I killed him?
How dare you speak to me that way?
How dare you? I lost him too, Mom!
Shaquille O'Neal came one step closer to his broadcasting career when he and Kobe Bryant led the Los Angeles Lakers to victory in the NBA Finals over Allen Iverson and Dikembe Mutombo's Philadelphia 76ers on June the 5th. Lakers took the ring, and Shaq took his second straight Finals MVP. Guess the answer got his answer.
You love him as well?
All right, right back at him, man. Relax! Don't push it!
Hey, man, he was in my face.
I'm in your face. Brian Earl Spillner. Sounds like a serial killer name. Is that what you are?
No, man.
Don't come around here again.
Oh, what is that?
Whoa.
Dave, right, that is it.
What's going on?
Put my stapler inside the jelly again. That's the third time he's done it. It wasn't even funny the first time.
Why has he done that?
Just told him once that I don't like jelly. Don't trust the way it moves.
Yeah, you showed him a weakness. He pounced. You should know about that.
Remembering one thing above all else.
I want you to know my real name. It's Chihiro.
Walt Disney Studios presents a Studio Ghibli film. Experience a magical movie phenomenon embraced by all the world.
Let's go! Let's go!
This fall, prepare to be spirited away.
Pedaling toward the end of July, Lance Armstrong won his third Tour de France in a row on the 29th. Armstrong would go on to win 7 straight Tour de Frances throughout the early aughts, bringing new widespread recognition and admiration to the sport of cycling. However, the good times would not continue to roll, as Armstrong was eventually implicated in a huge performance-enhancing drug ring.
I view this situation as one big lie that I repeated a lot of times.
He would be stripped of all 7 of his Tour de France wins and banned for life from competitive cycling on October 22, 2012.
You are Amelia Mignonette Thermopolis Rinaldi, Princess of Genovia.
Me? A princess? Shut up!
Beg your pardon? Shut up.
Your Majesty, in America, it doesn't always mean be quiet. Here it could mean wow, gee whiz, golly wally.
Oh, I understand. Thank you.
How's it going, Dave? How am I doing? You're a natural. Hey, you got an oven in there, guys?
When you get that craving for Wendy's bacon mushroom melt.
Coming through. That was close.
With 3 strips of bacon and mushrooms in a cheddar sauce, you just have to get one.
Hey, Dave, come on in. We gotta go get lunch. I'm starting to get the hang of this. He says he's getting the hang of it.
Wendy's bacon mushroom melt. When you gotta have one, you gotta have one.
Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice Roy Moore made headlines after taking it upon himself to have a monument of the 10 Commandments from the Bible constructed and installed in the Judiciary Building. This 5,280-pound block of granite was installed in the dead of night, without the approval of the other members of the Supreme Court or any other governing bodies, and was immediately challenged for violating one of America's founding principles, the separation of church and state. After 2 years, a lawsuit, and a trial, the monument was finally removed on November 14, 2003, and Moore was booted from the Supreme Court for the first time. Moore would come under fire again in 2016, when he refused to recognize the federal legalization of same-sex marriages in the state of Alabama. He was immediately suspended from office, but continued to fight the ruling for several months, until ultimately resigning from the Supreme Court on April 26, 2017. The old "you can't fire me, I quit" move works every time. In the world of music, the life of breakout superstar Aaliyah came to a tragic end when a Cessna 402 twin-engine plane carrying the beloved singer and 8 other passengers crashed during takeoff in the Bahamas, killing everyone on board. She had been filming a music video and was making the trip back to Miami, Florida, when the overloaded plane couldn't maintain altitude and went down 200 feet from the end of the runway. Moving into September, the Williams sisters battled it out in the U.S. Open, with Venus successfully defending her title against Serena and claiming her 2nd straight championship on the 8th. It was actually a doubly historic occasion because it was the first Grand Slam final to be played between competing sisters in 117 years. Sibling rivalries get intense. We can only take about one every century. The world changed forever on a Tuesday morning in New York City in the 2nd week of September. The events of that day exacted a terrible cost from the American people. The national grief and trauma shifted the way American foreign policy was handled over the next 2 decades, and continues to influence policy and legislation to this day. Unfortunately, due to platform restrictions, we can't go into more detail in this video, so we've provided multiple source links in the description if you'd like to learn more about this event.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack. A series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
In the wake of the first foreign attacks on U.S. soil since Pearl Harbor, President George W. Bush issued a declaration of war on terror while addressing a joint session of Congress on September 20th.
Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there. It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated.
The war on terror would come to describe nearly 2 decades of global conflict among multiple nations, with estimates of over 4 million lives lost and displacement of over 38 million people.
Today isn't just any other day. It's my first day. I'm the man.
And if they had to do it all again.
And 4 years of pre-med, 4 years of med school, and tons of unpaid loans have made me realize one thing.
Good. Could you go drop an NG tube on the patient in 234 and call the attending if the lavage is positive?
I don't know jack.
On October the 5th, British-born American photojournalist Robert Stevens became the first victim in a string of anthrax attacks that rocked the nation. Envelopes containing the deadly substance were mailed to the New York Post, NBC, CBS, ABC, and the National Enquirer, with letters stating, "Death to America, death to Israel, Allah is great." The FBI eventually came to the conclusion that the note was a red herring, and that the actual perpetrator was an anthrax researcher and biochemist named Bruce Ivins. However, there are differing opinions as to whether Ivins truly was guilty, and the one person who did know for sure, Bruce Ivins, took his own life in 2008. A multinational invasion force, led by the United States, entered the Taliban-ruled country of Afghanistan on October 7, 2001.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
The Taliban had been harboring Al-Qaeda and its leader, Osama bin Laden, and the United States deemed the invasion necessary to ward off any future attacks from Al-Qaeda or another group, to demand the extradition of bin Laden to America, and to get a measure of retaliation for the events of September 11th.
Our role is to protect America, and that's what we're going to do.
The initial invasion lasted until December 17th, but the continuing conflict in Afghanistan would go on to be the longest war in American history, at 19 years and 10 months, with U.S. forces completing their final withdrawal on August 30th, 2021. 6 days later, Advanced Cell Technology, Inc. successfully created the first clone human embryo. This experiment was run on 8 eggs. Of the 8 eggs, 2 successfully divided in order to form embryos, which were composed of 4 cells. The embryos stopped dividing at this juncture, so it was a far cry from Jurassic Park.
Hello, John. Hello.
But the experiment marked a massive leap forward and yielded a promise of great scientific achievement, but still, no dinos. Speaking of world-changing events, Apple released the first ever iPod on October 23rd.
Pod is the size of a deck of cards. I happen to have one right here in my pocket, in fact.
Digital music was still viewed as a novelty, but the promise of being able to carry thousands of songs, potentially your entire music collection, on a single portable device had undeniable appeal.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this thing out, and I ain't no rocket scientist, let me tell you.
But the device's steep $400 price tag would keep iPods out of the mainstream for a few more years.
Sir?
What?
Look.
Attention, we have a new scare leader, Randall Boggs.
Look at those numbers! Slumber party.
Never mind.
I don't believe this.
What?
Teddy Hanlon's in charge of backup.
Seth Campbell's old partner?
Yeah.
Hey, Jack. Haven't seen you since you put my partner away.
Teddy, don't start.
Is your team in place?
Yeah, we're not up here shopping for doctors.
Hey, I don't want a problem on this.
Not one to be left out of the exciting new gadgets discussion, Microsoft released its first home video game console.
First time, let me now unveil Xbox.
Just in time for Christmas on November 15th. Home to such launch titles as Halo, Dead or Alive 3, and Madden NFL 2002, the Xbox and its numerous successors cemented the house that Bill Gates built as a serious player in the video game industry.
Bill Gates, you never cease to amaze The Rock.
Excuse me, who are you?
Rubius Hagrid,
keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. Of course, you know all about Hogwarts.
Sorry, no.
No? Blimey, Harry, didn't you ever wonder where your mum and dad learned it all?
Learn what?
You're a wizard, Harry.
Buster! Leave Billy alone!
The game is inside the cards. New e-reader for Game Boy Advance. Slide the cards to play some of your favorite games. E-reader comes with a classic game and a sample pack. More games sold separately. Rated E for everyone.
Enron, a massive energy and commodities corporation, filed for the largest bankruptcy in history at the time on December 2nd, after a systemic pattern of corporate fraud and faulty accounting was revealed in what became known as the Enron scandal. The entire company was effectively a pyramid scheme, cooking the books to collect more money from investors, stealing billions of dollars in the process. Enron would be the first of several high-profile fraud-related bankruptcy cases in the early aughts, which led to new legislation around financial reporting in corporations. The Taliban originated in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Despite naysayers indicating that it would be almost impossible to capture the city of Kandahar, it was taken by US-backed military forces. Some say this conflict marked the end of official rule of the Taliban in Afghanistan. However, this would remain somewhat of a false victory, as US forces would remain in Afghanistan for the next 2 decades.
I need a reason. I don't say money. Why do this?
Why not do it? Because yesterday I walked out of the joint after losing 4 years of my life, and you're cold-decking teen beat cover boys. Because a house always wins. Play long enough, you never change the stakes, the house takes you. Unless, when that perfect hand comes along, you bet big, and then you take the house.
Been practicing this speech, haven't you?
A little bit. Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed it.
No, it's good. I liked it.
Future Stranger Things star Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting a $5,500 Saks Fifth Avenue bag in Beverly Hills, California. Bizarrely, the actress claimed that she had been researching a role and that the stolen merchandise was part of her acting process. But just like Ryder, nobody was willing to buy that.
I think on December 12th of 2001, you euphemistically reached what would be termed a crossroads in your life.
And she was sentenced to 3 years probation, 480 hours of community service, and $10,055 in fines and restitution.
I feel like someone's looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, they're all nice to your face. That's because they don't want you to know that they installed security cameras this week.
We all go for the blonde. We block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way, and we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win.
After 11 years and $27 million in fortification and remodeling, Italy's famous Leaning Tower of Pisa finally reopened to the public on the 15th. The extensive work was done to give the tower a stronger base and keep it from tipping all the way over. You think after all that time and money, they'd have fixed that lean?
I swore to protect you. Can you protect me from yourself?
I would have gone with you to the end. Into the very fires of Mordor.
I know.
And that's how 2001 ended, with national monuments and epic fantasy providing a brief escape from an ongoing war and an uncertain future. 2002 was right around the corner, bringing with it an Olympics, a Spider-Man, and a Musk. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2002. Arriving just 3 months after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2002 felt more like a new world than a new year.
I swear by my pretty floor bonnet, I will end you.
The year saw a series of corporate bankruptcies, a sports legend beginning his dynasty, a music icon showing us a different side, and much, much more.
That ain't right.
We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in the aughts. This is Timeline. We hope you like seeing steroid monsters hit home runs, because this one is all about 2002. Now thwip your web slinger and attack those clones. This is 2002.
The stove.
Over here.
I mean, my stove. I think I left it on.
The euro, the common currency of the European Union, was officially launched on January 1st, 1999. But for the first 3 years of its existence, it was only used for things without physical money, like electronic payments and accounting. But all that changed on the first day of 2002, with the introduction of euro banknotes and coins across all 12 EU countries, making it the largest known cash changeover in history. President George W. Bush signed the No Child Left Behind Act on January 8th.
We're asking states to design accountability systems to show parents and teachers whether or not children can read and write and add and subtract in grades 3 through 8.
An update to the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. The law focused on measuring student and teacher skills and performance against standards set by each state. It created goals for public education and cuts to federal funding for schools that failed to meet them. On March 23, 1991, Sierra Leone was plunged into civil war when the Revolutionary United Front attempted to overthrow the government of Joseph Momo. The war would ultimately take the lives of over 50,000 people and displace another 500,000 before finally being declared over by newly installed President Ahmed Tejan Kaba on January 18th.
Select Kmart stores are closing. Everything's on sale and must be sold now.
Kmart, then America's second largest retailer, filed for bankruptcy protection under Chapter 11. A far cry from a blue light special, Kmart became the largest retailer in U.S. history to ever file for bankruptcy. After dismissing its president, CEO, and board, closing 300 stores, and laying off around 34,000 employees, Kmart would finally emerge from bankruptcy in 2003. Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl was on his way to what he believed was a meeting in Karachi, Pakistan, when he was kidnapped by an Islamist militant group on January 23rd. After accusing the Jewish-American journalist of being a spy, Pearl's captors released photos of him in cuffs with a gun to his head. U.S. intelligence wasn't able to find Pearl before he was beheaded on February 1st. A grisly video of his murder was subsequently released on the internet, instantly becoming notorious. On February 3rd, the New England Patriots stunned the world by defeating the heavily favored St. Louis Rams in Super Bowl 36 at the Louisiana Superdome.
And it's right down the pipe. The Patriots have won Super Bowl 36.
The win would mark the first Super Bowl victory for MVP Tom Brady, who would go on to become one of the greatest athletes of all time. Until, after 23 years, 7 Super Bowl victories, 3 league MVP awards, 5 Super Bowl MVP awards, and 1 previous retirement, Tom Brady finally called it quits on February 1st, 2023.
Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing.
Speaking of sports, the Winter Olympic Games kicked off in Salt Lake City, Utah on February 8th. The Games were officially opened by President Bush.
I declare open the Games of Salt Lake City, celebrating the Olympic Winter Games.
The opening ceremonies paid tribute to the victims and heroes of the September 11th attacks. Norway won the most medals, 25 total, 13 gold. Geez, what's in that Norwegian water? On March 3rd, after 50-odd years of sitting things out, the nation of Switzerland voted to join the United Nations. Voters backed the resolution by a margin of 55 to 45%. But the second round was much narrower, the resolution being approved by a margin of just 1 vote. Geez, what's in that Swedish water?
I'm a very simple man. You gotta have like computer knowledge to turn the TV on and off. Jack! I pressed his one button and the shower starts. I'm going, what is this? Where am I, man? And the nightmare continues.
People I downloaded my songs off the internet and were like, knew all my lyrics and stuff. Even before Complicated came out and I was playing that song live, there'd be like people up on stage that knew all the words to all my songs. I thought that was cool.
Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
You just dropped a grenade in his lap, and what'd you do? Just run?
I did what I thought had to be done at the time.
If he would have gone to jail like he wanted, he would have been killed by Antoine or turned by Kavanaugh. Man, you know that.
You killed him because you were scared. He was strong and you were a coward.
What are you guys doing?
Now you can feel like a Jedi with new Go-Gurt glow-in-the-dark lightsaber tubes. There's 16 different tubes for a limited time only.
Mom's gonna be back in 30 minutes. Cool.
On March 14th, normal human Elon Musk founded the space exploration technologies company SpaceX to reduce the cost of space travel and eventually establish a human presence on Mars.
At the current prices that NASA pays for space transportation, I don't think we'll be able to achieve anything interesting in space.
SpaceX would become the first private company to do things like develop a liquid propellant rocket and send astronauts to the International Space Station. A magnitude 6.1 earthquake struck Narin, Afghanistan on March 25th, killing over 1,200 people and leaving more than 10,000 homeless. The region had been hit by an earthquake on March 3rd and would be hit again just a few weeks later on April 12th. So, don't ask those guys what's shaking.
I kind of admitted some things to him about my past that are very personal.
Did you fake it ever?
So, the weather's really nice.
What's the answer?
I'm not answering.
Come on, that's the best question I've had all day. I'm glad I know.
Sunday, March 31st, brought professional tennis history when superstar Andre Agassi won the 700th match of his career in a nail-biter against Roger Federer.
He has his 700th career win.
He was only the 9th player to ever reach 700 wins. No, it's not an April Fool's prank. The Netherlands' new law made the country the first in the world to let doctors end the lives of patients with terminal diseases who were deemed to be suffering unbearably. Dr. Jack Kevorkian must have been fuming. The world mourned on March 30th when Queen Elizabeth died at the age of 101.
Towards Westminster, the crowds swelled now by thousands of tourists, but filled by the tens of thousands for whom she was simply the Queen Mum.
After lying in state so that over 200,000 people could pay their respects, her funeral was on April 9th at Westminster Abbey. We bet even those stoic guards with the fuzzy hats shed a tear. On April 14th, Tiger Woods won his second consecutive Masters tournament, a feat previously accomplished only by Jack Nicklaus and Nick Faldo. If that's not impressive enough, his 4-day total of 12 under par set a record for lowest 72-hole score by a defending champ. He's got the eye of the tiger, all right.
Peter, these are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
On September 16, 1963, a bomb exploded at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 young girls. Despite determining the identities of the 4 bombers by 1965, the FBI failed to prosecute at the time. After authorities reopened the case in later years, garnering murder convictions in 1977 and 2001, it wasn't until 2002 that the 4th and final living Klansman was brought to trial and convicted. That same day, the remains of former Federal Bureau of Prisoners intern Chandra Levy were discovered in Washington's D.C. Rock Creek Park. Reported missing on May 1st, the case became national news when it broke that Levy had an affair with then-Congressman Gary Condit.
Did you have a romantic relationship with Chandra Levy?
Well, once again, I've been married 34 years. I have not been a perfect man. It's best that I not get into the details of the relationship.
Ingmar Gwandike, a man already serving time in jail, was eventually convicted, and Condit's reputation never recovered.
If you're not here to cooperate, then why are you here?
Ain't nobody gonna talk to you.
As rough as that neighborhood could be, we had us a community. And now all we got is bodies and predatory motherfuckers like you. Makes me sick, motherfucker, how far we done fell.
You sent me to kill Wambosi. Yeah, we can do that anytime we want. Who am I? You're U.S. government property. I don't send you to kill. I send you to be invisible. I send you because you don't exist.
On June 24th, tragedy struck Tanzania. Over 280 people were killed when a brake failure caused a passenger train to roll backward down a hill, crashing into a freight train. Though the idea for such a tribunal was first suggested in World War I, it wouldn't be until July 1st, 2002, that the International Criminal Court was created. Based at The Hague in the Netherlands, the body is sanctioned by those countries who signed the Rome Statute to prosecute political leaders accused of war crimes, genocide, or other crimes against humanity. But unfortunately, not your neighbor when he parks in your driveway. Speaking of court, on July 15th, the so-called American Taliban John Walker Lind pleaded guilty. An American citizen who fought with the Taliban against the ruling Northern Alliance in Afghanistan, Lind denied ever fighting against any American forces. He was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison and would be released for good behavior on May 23, 2019.
Come with us, Charlie. It'll be an adventure.
I like square butts and I cannot lie. Squid and sea star can't deny. When a sponge walks in, four corners in his pants like he got phone book implants, the crowd shouts. All the ladies stare. Dang, those pants are square.
In 2002, WorldCom was the #2 long-distance phone company in the United States.
I believe I can call. I think I'll use the phone in the hall.
But on July 21st, just 1 month after revealing it had improperly booked a mind-blowing $3.8 billion in expenses, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Meanwhile, Kmart was like, thank God, it's not just us.
Hearing the Misfits is so morbid and yet made me feel free. Mikey and I worked at a Barnes & Noble. He ended up with a whole stack of Irvine Welsh books for some bizarre reason. And so he started thumbing through them. On the back cover of one of them it said 4 Tales of Chemical Romance. And we'd drive around listening like the Get Up Kids talking about how we wanted to be in a band. And he'd said, yeah, if we had a band, we'd call it My Chemical Romance.
On July 24th, after representing himself in a 2-month federal trial where he was convicted of taking bribes, filing false tax returns, racketeering, and other crimes, James Traficant,
Do I do my hair with a weed whacker? I admit.
was expelled from the United States House of Representatives.
It is your duty, uphold the integrity of this House of Representatives and vote to expel Jim Traficant.
The 2 members who violated a 17-year-old page boy and a 17-year-old page girl were not expelled.
The Ohio Democrat was booted by a vote of 420 to 1, and that one was, you guessed it, Gary Condit. On that same day, 18 coal miners in the Q Creek mine in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, became trapped after they accidentally dug into an abandoned mine, releasing 75 million gallons of water. The miners would be stuck for 77 hours before being rescued on July 28th.
They were professionals, they were protected appropriately, and they had a whole lot of good people on top working to get them out as quickly as possible, so their outcome was much better than the usual entrapped trauma patient.
They were freezing cold and in dire shape, but they all survived. Sports history was made on August 9th when San Francisco Giants outfielder Barry Bonds hit the 600th home run of his career.
Swing and a long one. This one is way back. It is out of here.
The 421-foot solo shot made Bonds only the 4th major leaguer ever, after Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, and Hank Aaron, to reach the 600 mark. But 5 years later, Bonds would be indicted by a federal grand jury. The slugger was accused of lying under oath when he denied knowingly taking steroids. And even though the only conviction from the charges would be overturned in 2015, Bonds' damaged reputation would keep him from being elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
America has made their decision. Kelly, Justin, the winner of American Idol 2002 is Kelly Clarkson.
Pretty much thinking, how am I going to sing this next song while I'm crying?
On September 21st, Farm Aid 02 rocked the Post-Gazette Pavilion in Burgettstown, Pennsylvania.
How we feel in Pennsylvania? Check it out.
To raise some money for American farmers in need. The lineup included stars like Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, Dave Matthews, Keith Urban, Leanne Womack, and Los Lonely Boys. Just 2 days later, on September 23rd, Mozilla released the first public version of its free, open-source web browser, developed over concerns about the effects of commercial sponsorship on browser technology. Originally named Phoenix 0.1, the browser would later be renamed Firebird, then finally Firefox. Feeling the heat yet? On October 2nd, Beltway snipers John Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo began a shooting spree that would kill 10 people and injure 3 more over 3 weeks in October. Targeting random individuals, the killers brought Washington, D.C. to a near halt.
Sitting on the front porch, it could be us, could be me, could be anybody.
What's the matter with him? He just got shot.
Is this the Ponderosa?
Who is this?
Don't say anything. Just listen.
For reasons that are still unclear, the two would bring about their own downfall after phoning a tip into a local priest. They would be arrested on October 23rd, bringing their reign of terror to an end.
Chocolate rain. The prisons make you wonder where it went.
My new phone? Sleek, huh?
Yeah, Ving, it's different.
All the latest features and big buttons.
Yeah, Ving, but don't you think it's kind of...
Did I mention big buttons?
He loves his big phone, and you'll love our big Motorola deals. At Radio Shack, get the Motorola V120C for just $9.99 with activation.
On October 11th, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for, as the committee stated, his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development.
War may sometimes be a necessary evil. We will not learn how to live together in peace by killing each other's children.
Carter wasn't the first president to win the prize, being preceded by Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson. He also wasn't the last, because on October 9, 2009, President Barack Obama scored the same award, being nominated after serving only 11 days in his presidency for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples.
Clear-eyed, we can understand that there will be war and still strive for peace, for that is the story of human progress.
No violence toward you, but you have guns in the house. Loaded. They're loaded. You've never been a victim of crime. You haven't been assaulted here. You haven't been.
That's true.
So why not? Why don't you unload the gun?
I'm exercising one of the rights passed on down to me from those wise old dead white guys that invented this country.
The shooting tonight in a recording studio in Queens, taking the life of the man known as Jam Master Jay. His real name, Jason Mizell.
Tragedy would strike again on October 30th when Run DMC member Jam Master Jay was shot and killed in his recording studio in New York City.
It just blows your mind when you think about the fact that this guy was killed, because he's not that kind of guy. It's not like a East Coast, West Coast thing.
Jay was killed during what is now generally believed to be a drug deal gone bad. His killers, Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan Jr., would be convicted on February 27, 2024. A third suspect was charged in 2023 and has yet to go to trial. The Iraq disarmament crisis began on November 8th when the United Nations Security Council unanimously approved Resolution 1441, giving Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein a final opportunity to comply with disarmament obligations or face serious consequences.
In the name of freedom, will this man disarm? And if he does not disarm, the United States of America will lead a coalition and disarm him in the name of peace.
Iraq would agree to the resolution just 5 days later, but subsequent developments would lead directly to a multinational invasion of the country on March 20th, 2003. On November 18th, Brainwashed, the 12th and final studio album from Beatles guitarist George Harrison, was posthumously released. The album, completed by George's son Danny and longtime collaborator Jeff Lynne, would garner positive reviews, crack the top 20 on U.S. charts, and spawn the track Marwah Blues, which would win a Grammy for Best Pop Instrumental Performance. Federal law enforcement in the U.S. changed forever on November 25th, when President Bush signed the Homeland Security Act. A direct response to the attacks of September 11, 2001, the act grouped the federal agencies involved in protection under a single banner. The new Department of Homeland Security would be charged with protecting the national security of the United States, including infrastructure protection, emergency preparedness, and transportation security. On December 18th, the New York Times reported that icon fashion designer Calvin Klein was selling his company to Philips Van Heusen for roughly $430 million in cash and stock, with the potential for another $300 million in future royalties. It was a good purchase for PVH because in 2022, CK's worldwide retail sales were $9.3 billion. That's what, a single wool tie?
These are the most powerful people in New York City. And they keep peeking over their shoulders, wondering where you're going tonight. Where you going, Frank? Someplace exotic? Just tell me where you're going.
The rest of us really are suckers.
Founded by Reid Hoffman and Eric Lai in Mountain View, California, the business-focused social media platform LinkedIn wouldn't actually go online until May of 2003, but it was founded on December 28, 2002. Growing into a popular tool for online job searches and employee recruitment, it now has over 1 billion users in over 200 different countries, and every single one of them wants to connect with you. And that's how 2002 ended. With an increasingly dangerous world, a burgeoning online destiny, and an HBO show everyone screams at you to watch. But we were only beginning to realize quite how much 9/11 and the internet would change everything in the following year. And the king was about to return. Not Elvis, Aragorn. But that's all for next year. Coming soon, 2003.
What do you think?
Must have been before my time.
Yeah, you see that in the camera. I'm a journalist. You do that. You're mistaken this.
2003. The year that brought the invasion of Iraq, the third Lord of the Rings movie, and the craziest bank heist in human history. The decade that was the 2000s pushed further into the great unknown. 2003 moved us into the war on terror, but also brought us loads of movies and TV shows, sports records, and the passing of several iconic figures.
You believe in Jesus? Well, you're going to meet him.
We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in the 2000s. This is Timeline. Get ready for some intense geopolitical maneuvering, because this one is all about 2003. Now, rev up your fully electric engines. This is 2003.
We're back.
The year started out with the fear of a big bang as North Korea withdrew from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
We have no aggressive intent, no argument with the North Korean people. Yet our resolve in each case will be clear. We will not permit any regime to threaten the freedom and security of the American people.
After detonating nuclear devices and refusing to comply with the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors, the dictatorship rebelled against calls for atomic de-escalation and officially left the treaty. Guess their favorite Black Eyed Peas song is Boom Boom Pow? Everyone's favorite guy who falsetto yodels It's Only Teenage Wasteland? The Who guitarist Pete Townshend got in some hot water when he was arrested on suspicion of possession of indecent images of minors. After a 4-month investigation, the police made a formal declaration that Townshend had not downloaded, created, or distributed any inappropriate images. However, they issued a formal warning to him not to frequent any sites where such material was created due to evidence that he had visited them in 1999.
My contribution is to take that image that people see, translate it into line, and make them see it the way I see it.
Beloved illustrator and cartoonist Al Hirschfeld died in his sleep at the age of 99. Known for his loopy and expressive drawings, Hirschfeld blazed a new trail in the art of caricature. His drawings appeared everywhere from movie posters to playbills to New York Times articles. On January 26th, Jimmy Kimmel, former host of The Man Show, received his own late-night talk show on ABC, Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Tonight is the last time I'll be welcoming my co-host, Snoop Dogg.
I'm really not good at it, it turns out. At the end of the first show, I was just like, this is not going to work.
Right.
And no one wants to be on my show either.
Super Dave, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jerry. And I'm going to jump over some shows that are questionable, so maybe your kids will get better programming.
As of August 2024, Kimmel has been on the air for over 20 years and just celebrated the record of being the longest-running late-night host in the history of the genre.
20 years, that's crazy. Did you hear that, Guillermo? The show goes on for 20 years.
Wow, Jimmy, that's amazing.
Wait a minute. Was Guillermo even old enough to drink in 2003?
Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages and we did not copy your last.
Tragically, the Space Shuttle Columbia had a disastrous re-entry into Earth's orbit on February 1st, 2003, disintegrating in its descent. The craft shattered and debris was scattered over large parts of Texas and Louisiana.
We lost the data, and that's when we clearly began to know that we had a bad day.
All 7 astronauts on board were killed instantly. Actor Lana Clarkson was found dead inside the Alhambra, California mansion of iconoclastic record producer Phil Spector on February 3rd. Spector would be brought up on second-degree murder charges and sentenced 19 years to life in prison. Ultimately, Spector died in prison on January 22, 2021, from complications related to the coronavirus. He was 81. Rapper Curtis 50 Cent Jackson released his debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', on February 6, 2003. Bolstered by an Eminem co-sign and a wild gunshot survival story.
You're a tough guy. Been stabbed?
Twice I've been stabbed.
How's that feel?
Who stabbed you in the studio?
Phil Spector?
Another entourage, yeah.
50 Cent's debut would go platinum 20 times over.
I want to thank Vivica Fox for wearing that dress, too.
Boasting smash singles like In Da Club, 21 Questions, and PIMP. Go 50. It's your birthday.
Al-Qaeda has to have planted something on this plane. The armory, they have keys to the armory. They copied the movie. They vetted a reporter.
That would take years.
They started setting up 9/11. What's happening?
Freeze! Get your hands in the air.
One of the largest robberies in history transpired when an Italian gang stole loose diamonds, gold, and jewelry from a Belgian vault in Antwerp the day after Valentine's Day. The valuables were said to be worth somewhere north of $100 million. Thought of now as the heist of the century, the perpetrators were all eventually caught. Some received upwards of a decade in prison, while 3 members of the gang only received 5 years. Not too bad for accomplishing something that's century-worthy.
Secretary Heights was the last song we worked on. Kind of wanted one more upbeat song for the album, and we had been working on a cover song that wasn't quite working, readjusted that instrumental, and it turned into Secretary Heights, and then right away we're calling it the hit from the album because it just felt like even more poppy.
Hey, Apple! What is it? Aren't you glad I didn't say Apple again?
At the Rhode Island venue Station, during a February 20th performance of the band Great White, a pyrotechnics display was miscalibrated and set the venue on fire. Over 100 people died and over 300 were severely injured.
It was a really small part of the show. I wish to God we never would have even thought of it.
The Great White store manager who set off the pyrotechnics pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter and served 4 years in prison.
We're going to do something now we're going to do every week on this show. It's called New Rule. No more whining about the French. At least they're standing up to the Bush administration, which is more than I can say for the Democrats.
Will you make believe with me? Charlie, to the neighborhood of make-believe.
February 27th was a sad day in the neighborhood when everyone's favorite kindly children's television show host, Fred Mr. Rogers, passed away from stomach cancer at the age of 74. Rogers was a PBS children's TV show host who promoted love, understanding, and kindness through his multi-decade-long program.
You know, that's how you can tell when you're grown up inside. You're sure that what you're planning and doing are things that can be a real help to you and your neighbor. I'm proud of you, you know that.
We remove our shoes and sweater in honor, sir. Serbian Prime Minister Zoran Đinđić was killed by organized crime members in Belgrade on March 12th. He was the 6th Prime Minister of Serbia who advocated for more interaction and trade with the Western world. Milorad Ulemic, former commander of the Serbian Police Special Unit, stated that he and mafioso Dusan Spasojevic approved the assassination of Đinđić to restore a pro-Slobodan Milosevic government to Serbia. When Elizabeth Smart went missing in June of 2002, the country held its collective breath.
Elizabeth, if you're out there, we're doing everything we possibly can to help you. Please let her go. Please.
Until March 13th, 2003, almost 9 months after her disappearance. She was discovered in Sandy, Utah, walking with her 2 captors after various bystanders called the authorities, thinking that this little girl bore a striking resemblance to the missing child they had seen on the news. Smart thinking. Smart's captors, Brian David Mitchell and Wanda Eileen Barzee, were both found guilty of kidnapping and sexual assault. Barzee was sentenced to 15 years in prison, while Mitchell was given 2 life terms.
It is possible to move on after something terrible has happened.
Since being found, Smart has become an advocate and public speaker for people who have been abused, kidnapped, or trafficked. This journey began on March 8, 2006, when she spoke to the U.S. Congress in support of Amber Alerts, a survivor and a hero.
Despite everything, would you say life is good for Elizabeth Smart?
Yes, I would say life is beautiful for Elizabeth Smart.
At this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
On March 20th, 2003, under President George W. Bush, acting with congressional approval, the U.S. military, along with coalition forces, launched Operation Iraqi Freedom with surprise airstrikes on Iraqi military targets, including Iraq's then-dictator Saddam Hussein's presidential palace. The operation included close to 250,000 American soldiers. Among them, thousands were deployed in search of weapons of mass destruction. Roughly 3 weeks into the invasion, U.S.-led coalition forces forces captured Baghdad. Reportedly, over 2,000 Iraqi soldiers died during the battle. Saddam Hussein's regime fell 2 days later, represented by a now iconic image of a statue falling to the ground. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes of all time, played his last professional basketball game on April 16, 2003, for the Washington Wizards against the Philadelphia 76ers.
It's time. This is the final retirement, and you don't have to worry about me putting on another uniform.
In that game, his stats included 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Jordan retired with 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP awards, 14 All-Star appearances, 2 Olympic gold medals, and 1 Looney Tunes movie.
Let's play some basketball.
We'll let you decide what's the most impressive. On April 21st, iconoclastic singer, pianist, and civil rights activist Nina Simone succumbed to a battle with breast cancer at 70 years old. Simone was a revolutionary figure in the field of jazz and fought for civil rights alongside friends like Martin Luther King Jr., James Baldwin, and Langston Hughes. Her signature tunes include I Loves You Porgy, I Put a Spell on You, and Feeling Good. On May 1st, 2003, in front of a banner reading Mission Accomplished, U.S. President George W. Bush stood on an aircraft carrier and declared that major combat operations in Iraq have ended.
In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
The speech provoked some controversy, with several journalists and military members claiming it implied that the war was over. The initial U.S. military presence was drawn down in the following years, and all combat troops were withdrawn by 2011, only to be redeployed to Iraq in 2014. In 2021, President Joe Biden made his announcement of the end of the most recent combat mission in Iraq.
Our role in Iraq to be available to continue to train, to assist, to help. We are not going to be by the end of the year in a combat mission.
Anyone here from New Hampshire? Wow, that sucks.
If you're from New Hampshire, then you know there's a famous rock formation that, viewed from the right angle, looks like the face of an old man. And on May 3rd, 2003, it collapsed.
Is the future of New Hampshire's tourism ruined?
Experts say over centuries of freezing and thawing, the rocks just couldn't hold up to the pressure of their own weight.
It's incredible, but it's awful at the same time.
People are really sad. It's like you lost a family member.
We miss you, old man of the mountain. We miss you.
My name is Elise. I'm 20 years old. I am applying to medical school.
To pick and choose between becoming the supermodel or going to med school.
I've actually thought about that, and medical school can be deferred indefinitely, whereas being 20 years old cannot.
On May 22nd, Annika Sorenstam became the first woman to play a PGA Tour start, not the LPGA. Appearing at the Bank of America Colonial, she followed 2 other female athletes who made PGA starts, Babe Zaharias in 1946 and Shirley Spork in 1952. The crowd cheered her at every hole. However, her presence was not without criticism, most notably golfer Vijay Singh, who commented on the fact that if he was paired with her, he would withdraw, because she doesn't belong out here. Sorenstam was considered one of the best female golfers of all time, and when she retired in 2008, she had won over 96 international professional tournaments. On May 22nd, 2 days later, Sir Paul McCartney performed his first ever concert in Russia for over 100,000 people.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The event was recorded and released in a special titled Paul McCartney in Red Square. The final song he played, back in the USSR, the infamous Beatles cut that ironically portrayed the Soviet Union as a nostalgic place of surf rock comfort. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
Do you know where my dad is?
Honey, your dad's probably back at the pet store.
Pet store?
Yeah, like I'm from Bob's Fish Mart.
Pet Palace.
eBay.
So, which one is it? I'm from the ocean.
Ah, the ocean.
The ocean!
A dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly. Couldn't resist, mate.
One day after Captain Jack Sparrow sailed the seas, musical sensation Wicked opened its premiere curtain. Starring Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, the retelling of the world of Frank L. Baum's Wizard of Oz featured now perennial music theater favorites like Popular, Defying Gravity, and For Good. The play originally opened in San Francisco at the Curran Theater and would move to the Gershwin Theater in October of 2003 for its Broadway debut.
Morning time epic. Morning time epic. R-double-E-S-E-S. It's the perfect combination.
combination of peanut butter and chocolatey flavor. Reese's Puff Cereal, part of a complete breakfast.
Remember how everyone used to get super annoying calls from telemarketers like constantly?
Do you want to improve your credit score and get out of debt?
Again? Really?
Well, on June 26th, the U.S. government decided to do something about it by establishing the National Do Not Call Registry. The registry aimed to prevent telemarketing companies from contacting private citizens on the list. Almost 750,000 people signed up for this service on the first day, making it one of the more popular things a government has ever done. Tesla is a household name today, but back in 2003, the idea of a mass-market, practical, fully electric car was nearly unthinkable. Nevertheless, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning went out on a limb and founded Tesla, an electric vehicle company, to accomplish that impossible dream. And somehow, that founding led to Twitter being renamed X. History sure is weird. While staying in Colorado for a surgical procedure, star basketball player Kobe Bryant was arrested for sexual assault on the 4th of July, 2003. A 19-year-old hotel employee accused Bryant of assaulting her at the hotel, with bruises on her neck to boot. After the police questioned Bryant, he had admitted to having sex with the individual, but insisted it was consensual.
I'm so sorry for having to put you through this and having to put our family through this.
The case was eventually dismissed due to the woman in question not wanting to publicly testify.
For this reason, and this reason only, I am dismissing this case.
However, a civil case was eventually brought and settled for an undisclosed sum. That same day, iconic R&B singer Barry White died at age 58 from complications of diabetes and high blood pressure. Known for his smooth bass voice, White crooned sultry cuts like "Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe," "You're the First, the Last, My Everything," and "Never, Never Gonna Give You Up." Sorry, Panic at the Disco. Barry White was doing long-ass song titles before you were even born.
I would kill for that voice.
On July 14th, 2003, journalist Robert Novak published a Washington Post column called Mission to Niger. In this piece, he outed Valerie Plame as an undercover CIA agent, something you would think no one should be able to find out or publish. The ensuing media scandal ensnared Plame's husband, former diplomat Joseph C. Wilson, who 1 year earlier had published his own bombshell column in the New York Times, stating that President George W. Bush's accusation that Saddam Hussein bought uranium from Africa was inaccurate, an assertion he made after being sent on the investigatory assignment under recommendation from Plame herself. Ultimately, Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage confessed to leaking Plame's identity to Novak. While he insisted it was inadvertent, some commentators believed it was an obvious retribution to Wilson's article. The scandal led to a criminal investigation, with Vice President Dick Cheney's Chief of Staff, Scooter Libby, found guilty of 4 counts of criminal obstruction. Government officials, they have weird office squabbles just like us.
So every day for the past 25 years, we've been testing and torturing things like door hinges and hood locks. No other car goes through so much for so little.
On July 30th, Volkswagen produced the final Type 1 of their iconic Beetle, the compact car with the instantly recognizable design that made you slug your sibling on road trips. Ultimately, Volkswagen had produced over 21 million Beetles, the most of any car from a single platform. Ever wanted to rank your top 8 friends? Ever thought about having a homie named Tom? Well, on August 1st, thanks to this nifty new thing called MySpace, you could. Co-founded by several employees of tech company eUniverse, including the aforementioned Tom Anderson, who came as a friend to every user, MySpace was the first widespread social media network and became the largest one in the world from 2005 through 2009. 13 days later, users on the Northeast trying to access their MySpace were stymied by the 2003 blackout, which left more than 50 million people across the US and Canada without electricity.
We're coming past West 4th Street and the power just went out.
Creepy. I'm getting a flashback from September 11th. I don't like this.
It lasted about 8 hours before being restored. The reason? A software bug in the alarm system in the control room of First Energy. Thankfully, it was rectified quickly and power was restored.
What movie could possibly be worth driving 260 miles round trip for?
It's a new film called Revenge of the Nerds.
So what you're saying is you identify with those nerds?
Yes, I consider myself a nerd.
Star of 5 Death Wish films, Once Upon a Time in the West, The Mechanic, and countless other tough guy films, Charles Bronson died on August 20th, 2003 of a combination of pneumonia and Alzheimer's disease. He was 81 years old.
We heard shots. What happened?
I sent them a message.
The Man in Black himself, Influential country superstar Johnny Cash died on September 12th from complications of diabetes. He was 71. His career spanned decades, featuring iconic tunes like Folsom Prison Blues, I Walk the Line, Ring of Fire, A Boy Named Sue, and a late-period cover of Nine Inch Nails' Hurt.
For relaxing times, make it Suntory time.
君の瞳に乾杯. Suntory time.
He wants you to turn, look in camera. Okay?
That's all he said?
On September 14th, against the Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens running back Jamal Lewis set the NFL single-game rushing record.
Heavy on the carbs. Touchdown.
Lewis ran over 295 yards and scored 2 touchdowns on 20 carries. Thanks in part to this history-making performance, the Ravens scored a 33-13 victory over the Browns.
I guess you could stay here. I'll see you when you get here.
Oh, is she staying over? Because I may have parked behind her.
You son of a biscuit-eating bulldog.
What the French, Toast?
Did you think I wouldn't find out about your little doo-doo head cootie queen?
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
Pickle you, kumquat!
You're overreacting.
No, Bill, overreacting was when I put your convertible into a wood chipper. Stinky McStink face!
Fabulous. New Orbit Raspberry Mint cleans another dirty mouth. For a good clean feeling, no matter what.
Siegfried Fischbacher and Roy Horn might be well known for training tigers and performing magic tricks, but they might be equally well known for a tragic mishap during an October 3rd live performance, where a tiger called Manticore attacked Roy and almost killed him.
It kind of nipped at his hand, and he smacked at it.
But Roy suffered no ill will toward the cat. In fact, en route to the hospital, he was quoted as saying, "Make sure no harm comes to Manticore." With friendly cats like those? On October 7th, Gray Davis became the first governor of California and second governor in the history of the U.S. to be recalled. The special election was triggered in July by the collection of 1.3 million signatures demanding a recall. A cavalcade of hopefuls campaigned for 3 months, and the official ballot had 135 candidates to choose from. And the winner from this fracas? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I've heard your voices loud and clear. We have tough choices ahead.
The Terminator became the Governator and did a decent enough job to win re-election. He served as California governor until 2011.
Come on. Bring it on.
Mommy, I'm home.
Hey, baby. How was school?
Ooh, Steve, it's coming right at us. Grab it.
I don't want to get in the way.
It's a foul ball. What harm can it do?
1 week later, baseball fan Steve Bartman deflected the ball away from Chicago Cubs outfielder Moises Alou, leading to a very Chicago Cubs chain of events. With the Cubs leading 3-0 in the 8th inning of Game 6 of the National League Championship Series, the Florida Marlins hit a fly ball, and Bartman reached out and interfered with the play, turning a potential out into a home run.
That's awfully close to fan interference right there.
After the shocking turn of events, the Cubs allowed 8 runs in a single inning and went on to lose the series. In the future, please do not do the Bartman.
This is Michael's mother.
Look what they've done, Michael.
She isn't happy.
Look what the homosexuals have done to me.
You can't just calm that out and reset it?
Currently, she's upset that her husband's retirement party is being upstaged by a group of gay protesters.
On November 18th, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court ruled that the state's ban on same-sex marriages was unconstitutional.
In the end, it was 151-45, so it was a comfortable margin, and I'm very happy it ended that way. And for all those people out there who would have lost their rights, congratulations.
In their majority opinion stated, the marriage ban works deep and scarring hardship on a very real segment of the community for no rational reason.
We're best friends since we're 2. That's like kissing your sister.
So?
You guys kiss on the lips.
No. So?
You give him a kiss on the lips, I'll give you a kiss on the lips.
All right.
On December 5th, Coldplay frontman Chris Martin and actor Gwyneth Paltrow married in Santa Barbara, California. The couple had 2 children together, Apple and Moses, and were divorced in 2016 after a much-publicized conscious uncoupling. And on December 13th, As a result of Operation Red Dawn, the U.S. military finally located Saddam Hussein in the town of Adwar, Iraq. He was discovered hiding in a spider hole, and his woozy, disheveled, bearded visage became an instantly striking, iconic image. And that's how 2003 ended. 2004 was right around the corner, bringing with it more global conflict and more iconic pop culture. But that's all for next year. Coming soon, 2004.
That's really interesting.
You're managed by the company you look after S Club 7, you used to look after the Spice Girls Simon Fuller. Have they tried to mould you and ask you to do things to change the way you look?
Yeah, one of them tried to mould me into a big triangle shape, and I went, no.
2004. We weren't quite halfway through the aughts.
Let me tell you about my boat.
But we were deep enough in to realize the world had changed, and there would be no going back.
No capes!
2003 had been mostly about the build-up to the Iraq War and the subsequent fallout. But 2004 brought with it a presidential election that would allow for a referendum on the U.S.-led invasion. At the same time, it would also see the birth of a social networking site that would change how we all relate to each other online, one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history, and a World Series that the people of Boston would never stop talking about. So, we're going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in 2004. This is Timeline. And we're going to take you back a nice round 20 years because this one is all about 2004. Now, are you ready to see what happened precisely 1/5 of a century ago?
Step on it.
This is 2004.
Isn't we supposed to be having a fiesta? Uno, dos, cuatro, hit it!
Number one song in the USA on American Top 40 for the 4th week running. Hey Ya by Outkast.
The original run of Casey Kasem's American Top 40 lasted from July 4th, 1970 to January 28th, 1995. But the show was revived 3 years later, and Kasem would continue to count off the hits for America for another 6 years. On January 3rd, however, Kasem would say goodbye for the last time, handing over hosting duties to American Idol host Ryan Seacrest.
Rather than feeling sad about leaving American Top 40, I'm happy having done what I did.
On January 4th, NASA took one giant leap for mankind when they safely and successfully landed the Spirit rover on the surface of Mars. Spirit would touch down 3 weeks before its twin, Opportunity, landed on the other side of the planet. Originally planned to be a 90-day mission, Spirit would ultimately stay mobile for 1,944 days and operational for 2,269 days.
I'm Garth Marenghi, author, Dreamweaver.
I'm Dr. Sanchez. You're a woman.
Yes, I hope that's not a problem.
Not at all. There's plenty of scale on the wall. This is the 20th century after all, though some don't like to admit it. Welcome to Dark Place, Liz.
The My Doom computer worm targeted computers running Microsoft Windows, and it was first detected in North America on January 26th. True to its name, it quickly became the single fastest spreading email worm up until that point in history. Presenting as a poorly written email that was routinely disregarded as spam, My Doom would ultimately infect over 500,000 computers around the world. Its creator remains unknown to this day. And that same day, Hamid Karzai, president of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, signed the nation's new constitution into law. Drafted to establish a new government after the U.S.-led invasion drove the Taliban from power, the Constitution provided for an elected National Assembly and president. At least it did for 17 years. The U.S. withdrew its military presence from the country completely in September of 2021. And as the withdrawal approached, the Taliban launched an offensive. The nation's security forces quickly collapsed, and the new government and its constitution was terminated on August 15, 2021, when the Taliban took power. February 1st brought Super Bowl 38, but it was the halftime show starring Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake that everyone would be talking about the next day. That's because during a performance of Rock Your Body, Timberlake pulled off part of Jackson's outfit, exposing her right breast.
He was to take and rip the piece off, but more came off than what was supposed to.
The crackdown on indecency in broadcasting. If you've seen The Social Network, then you know that when Mark Zuckerberg first launched Facebook on February 4th, it was called The Facebook. Originally limited to students at Harvard University, the Facebook would prove incredibly popular and quickly expand to other colleges.
What is the Facebook exactly?
It's an online directory that connects people through universities and colleges through their social networks there. Make a profile about yourself by answering some questions, and most importantly, who your friends are.
And by 2006, it would be open to pretty much anyone. On February 10th, Kanye West's debut studio album, The College Dropout, dropped to mass acclaim. The album diverged from mainstream hip-hop at the time and touched on more thought-provoking subjects such as racism, religion, and the need for higher education. It also told the story of Kanye's near-fatal accident in 2002 through the track Through the Wire.
The music on this CD, I was only the vessel for this. God was in the studio with me. This was my healing process. This was my rehabilitation CD.
You one of my favorite artists, man. You gonna make it, and when you make it, keep the same perspective.
The album's success skyrocketed Kanye into stardom, and he remains one of the most famous and controversial recording artists to this day.
It's Aunt Em, darling.
Well, she seems all right now.
We kind of thought she was gonna leave us.
But I did leave, and I tried to get back for days. You just had a bad dream.
Sure. Remember me?
Oh, but it wasn't a dream. Only you were blue, and you were red, and you were yellow. You were all in color, and all so beautiful. Oh, it was a lot better.
Help the M&Ms find their colors.
On February 12th, San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom directed the city clerk's office to begin issuing marriage licenses for same-sex couples.
Civil unions is separate and fundamentally unequal, but the fact that we've moved that far so quickly is remarkable.
When challenged in court, the California Supreme Court overruled Newsom's directive, instructing that clerks had to issue licenses according to existing laws. The roughly 4,000 licenses that had been issued were voided, but later legal challenges saw that California Supreme Court in 2008 determined that the state constitution provided for legal same-sex marriage. After being elected as California's lieutenant governor in 2010 and serving in that office for 8 years, Newsom was elected governor on November 6, 2018. And on March 1st, Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh's accomplice, Terry Nichols, was convicted in federal court of 8 counts of involuntary manslaughter and conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction. He would also later be convicted in state court of 161 counts of first-degree murder. While McVeigh was sentenced to death, however, Nichols was instead sentenced to life imprisonment. And the following day, Yeah! by Usher hit #1 on the Billboard charts. Released less than a month earlier, the track, which featured Lil Jon and Ludacris, would stay in that position for 12 weeks and finish the year as the #1 single on Billboard's Hot 100. Also on March 2nd, the Indianapolis Colts would sign their soon-to-be iconic quarterback Peyton Manning to a 7-year, $98 million deal, with a signing bonus just shy of $35 million. It was, at the time, the largest financial offer ever made to play in the NFL. In the early hours of March 11th, the terrorist group Al-Qaeda would carry out a coordinated bombing attack against the Cercanías commuter train system local to Madrid in Spain. The two nearly simultaneous explosions, which constituted the deadliest terror attacks ever carried out in the country, would kill 193 people and injure over 2,000. And in an effort to save lives, on March 29th, the Republic of Ireland became the first country in the world to ban smoking in all workplaces, including bars and restaurants.
We all know that smoking is not good for you. We don't advocate smoking as publicans as such, but we advocate choice.
The rest of the world took note, and today, the World Health Organization counts 74 countries that have adopted similar bans. Given that it was April Fool's Day, it's understandable that when Google announced Gmail to the world, most people thought it was a prank. The fact that the company made the proclamation in a humorously worded press release didn't help matters either. But as we know now, Gmail was very real. Today, it is the world's largest email provider with over 1.2 billion users. Take that, Hotmail.
So you agree? What? You think you're really pretty. Oh my God, I love your bracelet. Where did you get it?
Oh, my mom made it for me.
It's adorable.
It's so fetch.
What is fetch?
Oh, it's like slang from England.
On April 22nd, U.S. Army Ranger Pat Tillman was killed in action in Afghanistan. a professional football player for the NFL's Arizona Cardinals, Tillman enlisted after the terror attack of September 11, 2001, and became the subject of much media attention. Though he was originally reported as being killed by the enemy, it would later be revealed that Tillman was the victim of friendly fire.
By making up these false stories, you're diminishing their true heroism. Everyone should understand what's going on, and we shouldn't be allowed to have smoke screens thrown in our face.
Then, on April 29th, after 106 years of production, the last car Oldsmobile would ever build rolled off the assembly line at a plant in Michigan.
It is the final Alero. It is also the final Oldsmobile.
The car was signed by the factory workers before being placed on display at a local transportation museum. And on April 30th, the television news magazine show 60 Minutes 2 reported that American soldiers had been abusing and sexually humiliating Iraqi prisoners at Abu Ghraib, the largest American military prison in Iraq.
What, if any, action is being taken against the interrogators?
I hope that investigation is including not only the people that actually committed the crimes, but some of the people might have encouraged these crimes as well.
Accompanied by graphic photos backing up these charges, the story disturbed Americans and the world at large, helping turn public sentiment against the war.
We love these subs! Subs are $1 off when you bring in a coupon! The Quiznos subs!
Quiznos. Toasty.
Adios, arrivederci, au revoir. Take one, 5 cameras. Common.
After 10 years and 236 episodes, the beloved NBC sitcom Friends aired its series finale on May 6th.
This is harder than I thought it would be.
Over 51 million viewers tuned in to say goodbye to Ross, Monica, Chandler, Rachel, Phoebe, and Joey. Although it didn't draw as many viewers as the Cheers or Seinfeld finales, the 6-time Emmy winner was every bit the cultural phenomenon and turned all 6 of its leads into stars.
Okay, should we get some coffee?
Sure. Where?
And Friends wasn't the only sitcom juggernaut to say goodbye in 2004, because after 11 years on the air and 37 Emmys for its cast and production, Frasier also signed off for good.
Good night, Seattle.
A spin-off of Cheers, the psychiatry-centric Seattle set show, which starred Kelsey Grammer as Dr. Frasier Crane, lasted even longer than the series that spawned it. But even though he had already played Frasier for 20 years, Kelsey Grammer wasn't done yet. And almost 2 full decades after Frasier ended, Frasier returned in a reboot that streams on Paramount Plus and is currently in its 2nd season.
Hello, Frasier. Lilith. Dear God. Who looked in the mirror and said your name 3 times?
I got a proposition for you. We could take the funk. We'll be the family funk.
What, we can get out on dry land and get out of this place?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's do it. Let's move. Come on.
Just one condition.
What?
That you take my sweet hand in marriage.
Oh, God.
And Randy Johnson, 24 up, 24 down.
Sports history was made on May 18th when Arizona Diamondbacks ace Randy Johnson became only the 17th pitcher in Major League Baseball history and the 7th in National League history to throw a perfect game.
Yeah! Swing and a miss, and Randy Johnson, at 40 years young, has thrown a perfect game.
The win came at the expense of the Atlanta Braves, who took the 2-0 loss in front of their home crowd in Atlanta.
I'm Peppa Pig.
George wants to jump into the big puddle first.
Stop, George. I must check if it's safe for you. Good. It is safe for you.
For most people, winning on Jeopardy would be a huge deal. But for software developer Ken Jennings, the big deal was winning 74 times in a row.
Who is Tyrone Power?
Correct.
Jennings' streak, which came shortly after the show had dropped its long-standing rule limiting winners to 5 appearances, began on June 2nd and didn't end until November 30th. Following the death of Alex Trebek on November 8th, 2020, producers announced Ken Jennings would be the first in a series of guest hosts who would help keep the show running while a permanent host was found.
Like all Jeopardy fans, I miss Alex very much. I thank him for everything he did for all of us.
That new permanent host would eventually turn out to be Jennings himself, who became the sole holder of the job in 2023, after sharing the title for several seasons with Mayim Bialik. And on June 5th, Ronald Reagan, the 40th President of the United States, died at his Bel Air home after a decade-long battle with Alzheimer's disease. A state funeral service and National Day of Mourning would be held on June 11th. and his casket was ultimately interred at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in California. Developed by Mojave Aerospace Ventures without a dime of government money, Spaceship One became the first privately funded vehicle to achieve spaceflight on June 21st. Funding for the ship was provided by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, who chipped in somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million to complete the project. Then on July 1st, legendary actor Marlon Brando finally lost his battle with lung cancer and passed away at the age of 80. Known for his appearances in films like The Wild One and The Godfather,
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Brando's career on the silver screen spanned 6 decades and earned him 2 Academy Awards.
If you had the Academy Awards night to do over again, would you do any of that differently?
I felt that it was a marvelous opportunity for an Indian to be able to voice his opinion to 85 million people.
Boy, that escalated quickly. Brick killed a guy.
Yeah, there were horses and a man on fire, and I killed a guy with a trident.
Lay low for a while, because you're probably wanted for murder.
And Martha Stewart was still alive, but probably wished she were dead when she was sentenced to 5 months in prison for lying to federal investigators in connection with an insider trading scandal.
Today is a shameful day. It's shameful for me and for my family and for my beloved company.
Despite the blow to her reputation and image, however, Stewart was able to bounce back after completing her sentence and continues her successful businesses.
Your car's in the parking lot. Here are your keys.
Did you realize what the hell we had to go through after you took the car?
Yeah, that's why I'm paying for your meal. Here's $50 for the burgers and $200 for the car.
What happened to my car?
I made some love stains in the back seat.
August 13th brought the start of the 2004 Summer Olympics, which were held in Athens, Greece, the original birthplace of the Games, and the site of the first modern Games. By the time it ended on August 29th, over 11,000 athletes had competed in 37 disciplines across 28 sports. American swimmer Michael Phelps ultimately wound up on top of the medals table with 6 gold and 2 bronze.
I realize I love you, but as long as you're with Jessica, there can never be anything between us.
Cassie, there's no need to cry. Besides, I've got really great news.
You're leaving Jessica.
No. I just saved a load of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. I saved.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
On August 22nd, in broad daylight, 2 masked gunmen burst into the Munch Museum in Oslo, Norway. While the terrified staff and guests looked on helplessly, the intruders stole the famous paintings The Scream and Madonna. However, in May of 2006, 3 men would be convicted of the theft. The paintings would be recovered that August, only slightly worse for the wearer.
Nobody's gonna go out with me. I don't even have any good skills.
What do you mean?
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills.
Aren't you pretty good at drawing, like, animals and warriors and stuff?
Probably the best that I know of.
On September 1st, a group of armed terrorists seized control of a school in the town of Beslan, North Ossetia, located in the North Caucasus region of Russia. The terrorists operated on behalf of a Chechen warlord who wanted to force Russia to recognize the independence of Chechnya. But on September 3rd, Russian forces moved in to retake the school, resulting in explosions and gunfights that ultimately took the lives of 344 people, 186 of which were children. Baseball history was made on September 15th when San Francisco Giants outfielder Barry Bonds hit his 700th career home run.
Bonds hits one to left center field. Klesko back, number 700.
While Bonds' achievements would later be greatly overshadowed by his complicity in the steroid scandals, the feat still put the slugger in an extremely exclusive club, which at the time included only Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron. After the master tapes to what would have been their 7th studio album were stolen, pop-punk band Green Day wrote a whole new album from scratch. American Idiot dropped in the U.S. on September 21st and is still widely regarded as the group's masterpiece.
And the Grammy goes to American Idiot, Green Day.
Nominated for 7 Grammys, it took home Rock Album of the Year and is now considered one of the most important rock albums of its era. 10 years later, Green Day would give its regards to Broadway in the form of the American Idiot Rock Musical. Originally developed at the Berkeley Repertory Theater in California, the show, co-written by Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong, would run for 422 performances and win 2 Tony Awards. The fall brought with it two massively popular TV shows.
Please, someone come. The others, they're dead.
It's a distress call. Plea for help, a mayday. It's been playing over and over for 16 years.
I was laid to rest on a Monday. After the funeral, all the residents of Wisteria Lane came to pay their respects.
You know what I hate? Weeds. They just pop up out of nowhere and you have to work so hard to get rid of them.
I find with the right chemicals, you can get rid of almost anything.
On October 10th, the world lost a Superman with the death of actor Christopher Reeve, famous for playing the Man of Steel in a series of 4 movies starting in 1978. Paralyzed in a horseback riding accident 9 years earlier, Reeves, still widely regarded as the definitive cinematic Superman, ultimately died of heart failure at the age of 52.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please. Please call.
Do not sabotage me. If you want to be a fucking lightweight, then that's your call, but do not sabotage me.
Oh, aye, Captain, you got it.
And if they want to drink Merlot, we're drinking Merlot.
Oh, no, if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any fucking Merlot!
On October 23rd, pop star Ashlee Simpson was set to perform live on SNL to promote her debut album, Autobiography. Due to a medical problem with her voice, her label encouraged her to perform on pre-recorded tracks.
Ashlee Simpson is worried about her losing her voice.
The first song went smoothly, but when the second performance began, the wrong pre-recorded vocals were accidentally played. The infamously awkward moment ended with Simpson doing a little jig and walking off stage, and her music career never recovered.
What can I say? Live TV.
Exactly. I feel so bad my band started playing the wrong song, and I know what to do, so I thought I'd do a hoedown.
Multiple generations of Red Sox fans lived and died in the 86 years between the team's World Series victories in 1918 and the one they won on October 29th, finally vanquishing the mythical Curse of the Bambino, alleged to plague the team ever since team owner Harry Frazee traded away Babe Ruth.
Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
The Red Sox beat the St. Louis Cardinals in just 4 games. The 55th quadrennial presidential election in the United States was between incumbent George W. Bush and his Democratic challenger, Massachusetts Senator John Kerry. The sitting president would ultimately win both the electoral and popular vote on November 2nd.
The voters turned out in record numbers and delivered an historic victory.
On November 9th, only months after turning in the manuscripts for the 3 books that would come to be known as the Millennium Trilogy, Swedish author Stieg Larsson tragically died of cardiac arrest at the age of 50. Those books, The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, chronicled the adventures of journalist Mikael Blomkvist and hacker Lisbeth Salander, and would all go on to be international bestsellers. The highly anticipated Nintendo DS hit stores in North America on November 21st.
DS has a much larger and more relevant meaning. Developers system. In creating DS, we've given the world's most talented game makers new ways to express their imaginations.
Pre-orders for the foldable handheld gaming system had been so high, the company had to devote an entire additional factory to their manufacture to keep up with demand. To date, all models of the DS have sold over 150 million units, making it the best-selling portable gaming system of all time and the second best-selling system in history, behind only the PS2. Though it was initially announced way back in 2001, World of Warcraft didn't arrive until November 23rd. Set in the Warcraft fantasy universe, the massively multiplayer online role-playing game was a hit with critics and fans, quickly becoming the most successful MMORPG of all time. By 2014, it would have over 100 million accounts, and by 2017, it would earn over $9 billion. Located near Millau, France, the Millau Viaduct stands at 1,104 feet above ground level and is still, to this day, the highest bridge in the world. Initially projected to open in January of the following year, the bridge was completed ahead of schedule. It was inaugurated on December 14th and officially opened on December 16th. At approximately 8 a.m. local time on December 26th, a massive undersea earthquake struck the Indian Ocean, just off the west coast of northern Sumatra in Indonesia. The quake then caused a tsunami with waves over 100 feet high. Coastal communities in the area were absolutely devastated, and nearly 228,000 people in 14 countries were killed. To date, it is still the single deadliest natural disaster of the 21st century. Rounding out the year with another colossal piece of construction, the Taipei 101 skyscraper located in Taipei, Taiwan, opened its doors as the then tallest building in the world on New Year's Eve. The Taipei 101 stands at a height of 1,670 feet tall, but it only held the crown for a few short years, relinquishing the top spot to the Burj Khalifa when it completed construction in 2010. Owned by the Taipei Financial Center Corporation, the building still remains the tallest building in Taiwan and the 11th tallest building on Earth. And that's how 2004 ended, with Bush back in the White House, Southeast Asia reeling from an unprecedented natural disaster, and everyone else wondering what was in the hatch on Lost. Weird as things were, we had finally reached the middle of the decade. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2005.
I came here and protected the animals as best I could. In fact, I'm the only protection for these animals out here.
2005, smack dab in the middle of the new millennium, the year finally brought us the future we were promised. Flying cars, laser guns, and human beings mingling with alien species. Or maybe that was just in the movies.
You think you've got problems?
Okay, so maybe 2005 didn't take humanity to a real-life galaxy far, far away.
Together, you and I can rule the galaxy.
It did, however, bring the world all sorts of thrilling events. The year was jam-packed with pop culture touchstones, from the premieres of iconic sitcoms to the release of genre-defining albums. The internet was abound with new and exciting websites, and civil rights were progressing in a big way. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows behind these hazel eyes in the year 2005. Natural disasters and terrorists took the lives of thousands across the globe, and over 4 million people traveled to the Vatican to mourn the passing of a pope. And through it all, we were collectively watching to see whether Jim was finally going to tell Pam how he felt. Today, we're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in 2005. This is Timeline. All right, we're taking you to the candy shop because this is 2005. Now, do you feel God in this Chili's tonight? The year started off with a triumph over a tragedy that occurred 4 decades earlier. American Ku Klux Klan organizer Edgar Ray Killen was arrested for the murders of 3 civil rights workers. The crimes, which occurred in 1964, were a high-profile event at the time, but several of the men involved, including Killen, escaped punishment. The victims, James Chaney, Michael Schwerner, and Andrew Goodman, finally saw justice when Killen was convicted in 2005 and sentenced to 60 years in the Mississippi State Penitentiary. However, he would not serve his full sentence. In January of 2018, Edgar Ray Killen passed away at the age of 92. Killen had only served around 13 years in prison, which is less than a quarter of his 60-year sentence. Just 20 days later, Condoleezza Rice was sworn in as the U.S. Secretary of State, making her the first African-American woman to hold the position in the history of the country.
Colin Powell leaves big shoes to fill at the State Department. Condi Rice is the right person to fill them.
Now it's time to build on those achievements to make the world safer and even more free.
After earning several advanced degrees in political science, Dr. Rice served under both the Reagan and Bush administrations throughout the 1980s and early 90s. But it was her stint with George W. in the 2000s that finally earned her the prized Secretary of State title. Under Prime Minister Paul Martin, the Civil Marriage Act was introduced to the House of Commons of Canada on the 1st of February 2005.
The people of Canada have worked hard to build a country that opens its doors to include all, regardless of their differences.
The bill effectively legalized gay marriage across the country and started a bit of a trend, since just a few months later, Spain followed in the footsteps of their friends in the Great White North. On the last day of June, the Spanish Parliament voted to equalize gay marriage and eliminate all distinctions between same-sex and heterosexual unions. The campaign for same-sex marriage had actually begun a year earlier under the newly elected Prime Minister José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, who was able to see his hard work come to fruition and be re-elected in 2008. After years of inquiry on the part of the United States, North Korea publicly confirmed that it does, in fact, possess nuclear weapons. According to a statement made by the state-run Korean Central News Agency, North Korea manufactured nukes for self-defense to cope with the Bush administration's ever more undisguised policy to isolate and stifle the North. In other words, they claimed they were just keeping up with the Joneses. Or would that be bushes?
Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles announced their engagement this week.
Isn't it joyous? I mean, just look at this vision.
That same day, Charles, Prince of Wales, announced his engagement to the soon-to-be Queen Consort, Camilla Parker Bowles. After the divorce and eventual untimely death of Princess Diana in the late 90s, the British public speculated on the nature of Charles and Bowles' relationship. You couldn't have chosen a more romantic announcement day, Charles? Valentine's Day was just 4 days away.
So when's the date?
April 8th, and it can't come soon enough. And when she lifts her veil, the entire audience will gasp.
Yes, they will gasp. Right.
Speaking of which, love must have been in the air on Valentine's Day, because the internet was about to find itself a new main squeeze in a budding website called YouTube.
A lot of people want to go to the website and actually view the video in a player, so...
How much?
Free.
Who's paying for the bandwidth? That's amazing.
Not us.
Founders Steve Chen, Chad Hurley, and Jawed Karim were former employees of PayPal. Although the site went live on the 14th, the first video wouldn't be uploaded for another 2 months. On April 23rd, Jawed Karim uploaded a video to his fledgling video sharing website titled Me at the Zoo, which is exactly what it sounds like. The 19-second clip features Karim standing in front of the elephant enclosure at the San Diego Zoo, talking about how cool it is that elephants have long trunks.
And that's pretty much all there is to say.
So nothing's really changed as far as YouTube videos are concerned.
Will somebody please help me? Someone stole my Visa check card.
Read my lips. If your Visa check card's lost or stolen, you're not liable for fraudulent charges.
And all that money will be put back in your checking account. Sheesh.
Signing with a Visa check card is super safe.
Steve Fawcett made history the following month after becoming the first person to fly an airplane around the world by himself without stopping to refuel. Fawcett was a fellow of the Royal Geographical Society and the American-based Explorers Club, who liked to sail and fly hot air balloons in addition to being an accomplished pilot.
There's a great romance to flying around the world and doing it faster than anybody else has done it in that medium.
The journey around the world in the Virgin Atlantic Global Flyer, surprisingly, did not take 80 days. It took 67 hours and 2 minutes to complete and spanned a distance of 40,234 kilometers, or about 25,000 miles. Michael Eisner stepped down as the Walt Disney Company CEO after a 21-year tenure. He was succeeded by then-president and COO Bob Iger. Iger would serve as the company's chief executive officer for 15 years until his contract ended in February 2020. He would be replaced by a different Bob Chapek, but as it turns out, he wasn't done. After an embarrassingly short stint as the head of the company, Bob Chapek stepped down as Disney's CEO, and Iger assumed the crown once again, which we assume is just one of those expensive Mickey Mouse hats that they sell at the theme parks.
It's with great sadness that Terry Schiavo has passed away.
After a cardiac arrest left her with severe brain damage in 1990, Terry Schiavo subsequently spent the next 15 years comatose. In 1998, Schiavo's husband and guardian petitioned to have her feeding tube removed, but was refused by Schiavo's parents, who had the petition struck down.
Please save my little girl.
The story sparked controversy once it broke the news, and stirred up conversations about consent and guardianship of comatose patients. Schiavo's husband would ultimately win the battle. His wife's feeding tube was removed on March 18, 2005, and she died less than 2 weeks later on March 31st. The Ides of March saw the debut of some major TV shows.
People say I am the best boss. They go, God, we've never worked in a place like this before. You're hilarious. I think that pretty much sums it up. I found it at Spencer Gifts.
If you want orders, follow this one. Kill yourself.
Daleks must survive!
The Daleks have failed! Why don't you finish the job and make the Daleks extinct? Rid the universe of your filth! Why don't you just die?
You would make a good Dalek.
And which brings me to rule number 3. If I'm sleeping, don't wake me unless your patient is actually dying. Rule number 4, the dying patient better not be dead when I get there. Not only will you have killed someone, you would have woke me for no good reason. We clear? Yes.
You said 5 rules. That was only 4.
Rule number 5, when I move, you move.
The month of April started off tragically as Pope John Paul II died, fittingly on the 2nd. Over 4 million people would flock to the Vatican over the course of his funeral and the 9 days of observed mourning by the Catholic Church. The Huffington Post started its life as an online commentary outlet and blog on May 9th. Founded by its namesake Arianna Huffington Andrew Breitbart, Kenneth Lehrer, and Jonah Peretti, the site aimed to provide an alternative to other news aggregators. After 30 years of persistent mystery, former FBI Assistant Director Mark Felt was revealed as Watergate informant Deep Throat in a Vanity Fair article. As the unidentified Deep Throat, Felt leaked key information which helped shed light on the Watergate scandal during Nixon's presidency. At the age of 95, 3 years after having admitted to his role as Deep Throat, Mark Felt passed away at his home in his sleep. The world watched as a jury in Santa Maria Court in California acquitted Michael Jackson on charges of child molestation.
We, the jury in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child.
The alleged victim and cancer survivor, Gavin Arvizo, was 13 at the time Jackson had him and his family at his Neverland Ranch estate in Los Olivos, California. The trial took 4 months to complete and was described as a media circus, with many major news outlets choosing to cover it for full 24-hour rolling cycles.
N equals what? Josh?
Today we'll be performing a triple Hoffenritter procedure.
But you've never done that before.
That's okay.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was an easy button for life? Now there's one for your business. Staples.
Flass nose.
He won't talk.
He'll talk to me.
Where were the other drugs going? I never knew. I don't know. I swear to God. Swear to me!
In another big win for the internet, Reddit was founded by Steve Huffman and Alexis Ohanian.
And that's the two of us on the first day of Y Combinator. You'll also notice I had a t-shirt with a mascot that I designed long before we actually built a website. That was dumb, wrong order of operations.
Beginning as the two college roommates' side project at the University of Virginia, the online forum is one of the web's most visited sites today. Starting July off right, Pink Floyd's classic lineup reunited one final time to play at Live 8. It had been more than 24 years since frontman Roger Waters, guitarist David Gilmour, drummer Nick Mason, and pianist Rick Wright had taken the stage together. The bandmates put aside years of bad blood to put on the show of a lifetime in front of a crowd of around 200,000 fans. The show became even more meaningful just a few years later when Richard Wright, Pink Floyd's keyboard player, went off to the great gig in the sky in 2008 at just 65 years old.
Reports are just coming in of an explosion at Liverpool Street Station here in London.
The city of London was horrifically targeted by 4 suicide bombings on the morning of July 7th. 3 explosions went off simultaneously in the London Underground at 8:50 a.m.
And then it was just smoke everywhere. In the tunnel, we was trying to close the doors because it was just smoke, we couldn't breathe.
And a 4th later detonated on the upper deck of a bus. All totaled, the attacks took the lives of 52 people and injured hundreds. Similar to the attacks of New York City 4 years earlier, the day has come to be known as 7/7. Across the pond in the Florida Panhandle, Hurricane Dennis made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane on Santa Rosa Island.
Get back! Get back! Get back! It's coming apart! Look over there! It's coming apart!
The storm decimated the area, creating 87-mile-per-hour winds and producing tornadoes across all of Central Florida. 88 people lost their lives, and the storm caused nearly $4 billion in damages.
Claire's mom just made me grab her Hooters.
Well, snap out of it. What were they like anyway? They look pretty good. Are they real? Are they built for speed or for comfort? Motorboat? You motorboating son of a bitch. You old sailor, you.
What is wrong with you?
The Vietnamese believe in something called comprehensive eating. All of the dishes laid out at once so we can appreciate the appearance and the aroma.
In more rural areas, like the Deep South, the flavors are much more vibrant, much more savory, and the rot gut is much, much meaner.
정말 대견합니다. 두부처럼 하얗게 살라고 다시는 죄짓지 말란 뜻으로 먹는 겁니다.
너나 잘하세요.
After a 36-year-long armed campaign, the Irish Republican Army announced that all units had been ordered to dump arms. While splinter groups continued to fight, formal peace talks with the British government had begun in the late 90s. And by July 28, 2005, the IRA had officially laid down their arms.
I welcome the recognition that the only route to political change lies in exclusively peaceful and democratic means.
Shoot him! What? Shoot him!
Charlie, I shot you in your head. I'm so sorry.
It's okay? No, I'm not okay. Shot me in my head.
It really hurts. I gotta go to a hospital. I'll call an ambulance.
Bro, the hospital's like 3 blocks away. We should just drive in.
I know that, but I don't want to get blood stains all over the interior of my car.
After a 2-day hearing in Wichita, Kansas, serial murderer Dennis Rader was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences in prison for the 10 slayings he committed in the 1970s. Known as the BTK killer, Rader would ultimately face down 175 years of jail time.
Do you like to do it yourself?
If the mood strikes.
How is the mood striking you now?
That totally worked. I literally said nothing.
Barely a month after the devastating effects of Hurricane Dennis, Katrina swept over the Gulf Coast as a Category 4 hurricane.
Extremely hard to leave. Your whole life is here, your whole world, and it's hard to decide what's important and what's of value.
Wind speeds reached up to 145 miles per hour, and torrential rains flooded 80% of the city of New Orleans for weeks. All in all, Katrina killed over 1,000 people and caused over $108 billion in damages.
The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah, the other guys are like starting maybe 6-man?
Right.
Maybe
if
6-man.
Right. Rejected! Don't you bring that weak tot action. You go strong to your mouth or you don't go at all.
Game day food. Nothing goes better with sports than Sonic's extra long cheese coney covered with cheese and meaty chili. It's not just good, it's Sonic good.
Just 3 days later, a false bomb threat caused a stampede on the Al-Aima Bridge in Baghdad. Over 1 million people were gathered around the Al-Qadimiyya Mosque, and countless were packed on the bridge, crossing the Tigris River. The stampede forced countless people across the bridge and killed almost 1,000 of them on impact, through suffocation or by drowning in the river below. After 19 years of service in the Supreme Court, Chief Justice William Rehnquist passed away at the age of 80. Rehnquist was the 16th Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court and was first appointed by Richard Nixon in 1971. A Danish newspaper called Jyllands-Posten made international headlines on the last day of September after publishing several editorial cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, which was considered controversial to downright blasphemous according to strict Muslim doctrine that forbids visual depictions of the Prophet. Protests and riots broke out the world over, leading to a global conversation about censorship and religious tolerance. Putting an end to the doom and gloom of the summer and early fall of 2005, the NFL kicked off October by playing their first regular game outside the USA.
Important matches in Mexico played there, and you would say, okay, is this actually happening? An NFL professional game is being played here, one that counts.
The Arizona Cardinals beat the San Francisco 49ers 31-14 at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, and the game boasted 103,467 spectators, the biggest turnout in NFL history at the time. In an event about as important to teenage girls as the first international NFL game was to college kids and middle-aged dads, Stephenie Meyer's first novel in her vampire romance series was published on October 5th. The book, called Twilight, would become a sensation and spawn a series of movies starring Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, an unending cavalcade of merchandise,
Twilight stuff. Heck yes.
and countless parodies throughout the years.
Your skin is green. You freak out or on fire.
Say it out loud.
Frankenstein.
3 days later, the Kashmir earthquake hit Pakistan, India, and parts of Afghanistan. At a magnitude of 7.6, the quake devastated the area and demolished over 32,000 buildings. It killed 86,000 people and injured at least 69,000 more.
Greetings, NASA. It's me, Stephen Colbert, and I just want to congratulate you on a great year. Your dramatic pictures from Cassini, finding water on Mars, though I urge you to never give up on President Bush's bold challenge. Before this decade is out, we must launch a probe to find out if there's oil in heaven.
Saddam Hussein, the deposed president of Iraq, was put on trial in Baghdad for crimes against humanity by the Iraqi interim government on October 19th. His charges, including violent campaigns against the Kurds and Shiites, were laid out on the world stage for all to see. For his part, Hussein maintained he wasn't actually deposed at all and was still the legal president of Iraq. We'll find out how well that worked for him in the next episode. Civil rights activist Rosa Parks died due to complications with dementia at the age of 92. In honor of her brave protest in the 1950s, where she refused to give up her seat to white passengers in a segregated bus, all buses in the Montgomery area reserved their front seats with black ribbons until she was laid to rest. In another tragic incident, 3 suicide bombers made coordinated attacks on local hotels in Amman, Jordan. 60 people lost their lives, and over 100 more were injured in the explosions. A 4th explosion was set, but the would-be bomber's belt failed to detonate, and she was arrested. Gamers rejoiced when the Xbox 360 came out in late November, just in time for the kids to start begging for one for Christmas.
This is my Xbox 360. It's here and it's on.
Tech giant Microsoft released their most recent video game console alongside games like Call of Duty 2, NBA 2K6, and Perfect Dark Zero. Yeah, remember that one? Bigger and better in every way than its predecessor, the original Xbox, the 360 sold out immediately across North America and Europe and became one of the most revered home consoles ever produced. That same day, Angela Merkel became the first woman ever sworn in as a German chancellor. Following a tight electoral race and 2 weeks of negotiations, Merkel led the country for 13 years and was frequently called the most powerful woman in the world. Ted Koppel also wanted to make his mark on November 22, 2005. The famed late-night television host officially retired from ABC's Nightline after one final show. He had been the program's host since its inception in 1980 and touched on a whole host of important cultural and political topics, even interviewing Nelson Mandela in 1990.
You've always been very nice to me, so give this new anchor team for Nightline a fair break. If you don't, I promise you the network will just put another comedy show in this time slot.
One day later, another political first caught the attention of the masses. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf won in her electoral race against George Weah to become Liberia's president, making her Africa's first democratically elected female head of state and Liberia's first elected leader after 14 years of civil war.
But you didn't want it, Ennis. So what we got now is Brokeback Mountain. And I'm not you. I can't make it on a couple of high-altitude once or twice a year. I wish I knew how to quit you.
Stand-up comedian, writer, and actor Richard Pryor was known for his intimate and subversive work, being heralded by his peers as one of the greatest comics of all time.
This man's a genius. Now who else can take all the forms of comedy, slapstick, satire, mime, and stand-up, and turn it into something that'll offend everyone?
Any comic work in America was influenced by what he's done.
On December 10th, he passed away from a heart attack at his Los Angeles home. But he is survived by a legacy across film and stage that's as relevant today as it was at the height of his career. And with the loss of a comedic legend, 2005 came to a close. Next year, we'll see a similar mix of tragedy and comedy with the death of a beloved Australian zookeeper, the downgrade of Pluto's planet status, the release of a now iconic mockumentary about a man from Kazakhstan, and so much more. Coming soon, 2006.
High five!
2006. It was the first year of the second half of the first decade of the second millennium, and topping the previous year was going to be tough. 2005 had brought us the birth of YouTube, the return of Doctor Who, and the first Twilight book. Of course, it also brought Hurricane Katrina, an earthquake that claimed over 85,000 people, and the divorce of Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. But hey, nobody's perfect. 2006 was going to have a lot to live up to, and at least on some fronts, it would deliver. James Bond would be back with a vengeance, NASA would make some incredible discoveries on Mars, and we were all about to learn a new trick called tweeting.
It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen.
So, we're going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in 2006. This is Timeline. Someone cue up Gnarls Barkley's Crazy, because this one is all about 2006. Now, are you ready to see what happened the year Pamela Anderson married Kid Rock? We've got all the facts ready to go for you.
I'll sing with her.
Troy Bolton, where is your sports posse or whatever it's called?
Team.
Ah.
But I'm here alone. Actually, I'm here to sing with her.
On January 22nd, the late great Kobe Bryant would carve his name into the NBA record books when he scored 81 points in a game against the Toronto Raptors.
Kobe Bryant, 28 for 46 from the field. This would be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game.
Bryant's performance would go down as the second highest scoring total in the history of the NBA, behind only Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game against the New York Knicks on March 2, 1962. And just 2 days later, on January 24th, the Walt Disney Company announced it had agreed to buy the computer animation film studio Pixar for a whopping $7.4 billion. It's easy to understand why. Disney had been distributing Pixar's films since 1993, and in that time they won 19 Academy Awards and earned more than $3 billion worldwide. Not content with just owning Disney, the Muppets, which they bought in 2004, and Marvel, which they bought in 2009, the House of Mouse announced on August 30th, 2012, that they were buying Lucasfilm and pretty much everything that came with it, which included the rights to franchises like Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Disney paid Lucas over $4 billion for his company, with half paid in cash and half paid in stock, making him one of the corporation's biggest shareholders. After 145 years, Western Union announced it would be discontinuing its storied telegram service, effective January 27th. Despite the important role it played in the history of communication, use of the telegram declined, especially after long-distance telephone service became cheap in the early 1980s. Email would then prove to be the nail in the telegram's coffin. And on February 11th, U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney was quail hunting at the Armstrong Ranch in South Texas when he accidentally shot 78-year-old attorney Harry Whittington while trying to aim at a bird. Whittington was hit with birdshot in his face, neck, and chest, and suffered a minor heart attack as a result. Amazingly, after getting out of the hospital, Whittington, for some reason, apologized to Cheney.
My family and I are deeply sorry for all that Vice President Cheney and his family have had to go through this past week.
This series will take you to the last wildernesses and show you the planet and its wildlife as you have never seen them before.
And on March 6th, Baseball Hall of Famer Kirby Puckett, who went to 2 World Series with the Minnesota Twins in 1987 and 1991, died of a stroke at the age of 45. Puckett had a career batting average of .318, 6 Gold Gloves, and 10 All-Star Game appearances, before his career was tragically cut short by glaucoma. 4 days later, on March 10th, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, arrived at its destination on the 4th planet from the Sun, after being launched on August 12, 2005. Over the subsequent decade, the MRO would play a key role in several important discoveries, including the fact that, even today, water still flows seasonally on some areas of the Red Planet.
What you're about to witness is strictly personal. A direct, undiluted, unrehearsed, uncensored interview. My role is that of a reporter.
There was a time when the 7 most feared words in the English language were, "Mike Wallace is here to see you." But that era came to an end on March 14th, when the legendary journalist finally announced his retirement from the news magazine show 60 Minutes. He would continue to work with CBS News as a correspondent emeritus, conducting his final interview in January of 2008. Wallace would die of natural causes on April 7th, 2012.
Now you can be a scientist. Trix Yogurt lets you create your own experiments with crackling crystals. Free and specially marked packs of Trix Yogurt.
And on March 21st, Twitter founder Jack Dorsey sent out the first tweet ever. It said, "Just setting up my Twitter," with Twitter spelled TWTTR, presumably to encourage people to abbreviate in the name of saving precious characters, which were at that point limited to 140. The inaugural message was not anything profound, but it would launch a service that would change the world for decades to come. 16 years later, on October 28, 2022, Tesla and SpaceX owner Elon Musk completed his acquisition of Twitter, which he would quickly rename X. Musk's leadership of Twitter would prove to be controversial on a number of fronts. And just a year later, he would value the company he paid $44 billion for at a mere $19 billion. And in the early evening of April 2nd, the central United States was hit by a devastating mass outbreak of tornadoes. 66 separate tornadoes would hit across 7 states, including Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. The disaster would cause over $1 billion in damage and kill 29 people, 26 of which were killed by the same supercell thunderstorm. Then, on April 11th, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad sent a shockwave through the world when he announced that Iran had successfully enriched uranium for the first time. Ahmadinejad assured a skeptical international community that Iran would not be building nuclear weapons, but would continue to pursue other peaceful industrial uses of nuclear power. And on April 16th, actor Colin Farrell, then famous for his appearances in movies like Minority Report and Daredevil, reached a confidential settlement with his ex-girlfriend, Nicole Narain, to keep their 13-minute sex tape private.
It seemed like a good idea at the time, 2 adults having fun with a video camera.
Narain, a former Playboy playmate, insisted copyright law gave her the right to market the explicit video. After Farrell won an injunction against its distribution, however, the two parties were able to reach an agreement. Still the only person ever convicted of being a part of the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, Zacarias Moussaoui was sentenced to life in prison on May 3rd after pleading guilty to all charges against him. Though his connection to and role in the 9/11 attacks has been subject to some controversy, the confessed terrorist avoided the death penalty and remains incarcerated at a supermax prison in Colorado. May 17th was a red-letter day in the history of science, because that was the day the Human Genome Project published their final chromosome sequence in the scientific journal Nature. Started in 1990, the project's goal was to make a blueprint of the genes and DNA sequences that create human beings. Among other things, the information has helped create and improve treatments for an untold number of medical disorders. Disaster struck again on May 27th, when the Yogyakarta earthquake hit Indonesia. Although the area frequently experiences earthquakes, this particular quake, which struck on the southern coast of Java, near the city of Yogyakarta, occurred at a strike-slip fault, leading to an unusually high amount of devastation. The quake caused over $3 billion in damage, injured over 10,000 people, and killed over 5,700. Sadly, on June 6th, musician Billy Preston, often called the Fifth Beatle for his role in the recording of their iconic Let It Be album, passed away at his home in Scottsdale, Arizona, from complications related to kidney disease. In addition to sitting in with the Fab Four, the legendary keyboardist also played with the likes of Ray Charles, Little Richard, Sam Cooke, the Rolling Stones, and many, many more. 51 years after the Beatles' documentary Let It Be hit theaters, Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson released the documentary television series Get Back. Cut from the same footage as the film, the well-received miniseries showed a different side of the Let It Be recording sessions, including highlighting the contributions of Billy Preston.
I couldn't have been clearer. There you are, Emily. How many times do I have to scream your name?
Actually, it's Andy. My name is Andy. Andrea, but everybody calls me Andy.
Now you can put your ninja skills to the test with Naruto Deluxe figures. Shadow Flow Jutsu Naruto, Shuriken Attack Iruka, Tornado Attack Sasuke, and Tree Climbing Naruto. You can collect them all. Naruto 5-inch action figures, each sold separately.
On June 29th, the U.S. Supreme Court announced its decision in Hamdan v. Rumsfeld. The majority in the case held that the Bush administration lacked the power to try Hamdan and other detainees at Guantanamo Bay before military tribunals that didn't comply with the ordinary laws of the U.S. and of war, including the Geneva Convention. A rock and roll legend died on July 7th, when Pink Floyd founder Syd Barrett passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of 60. A pioneer of early psychedelic rock, Barrett was only with his famous group long enough to appear on their first 2 albums, before being sidelined by mental health problems. Never forgotten by the band, Barrett is believed to be the subject of some of their most iconic songs, like Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And July 30th marked the end of an era when the world's longest-running weekly music show, Top of the Pops, aired for the final time on BBC Two. Making its debut on the first day of January in 1964, Top of the Pops showed performances of the week's best-selling hits for 42 years before falling victim to the rapidly changing landscape of the music business. The final song on the show would be Shakira's Hips Don't Lie. After 23 seasons as a professional quarterback, 16 of those in the NFL, the great Warren Moon became the first African-American QB ever voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. By the end of his career, Moon had 8 playoff appearances, 9 Pro Bowls, and is the only man ever voted into both the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. The educational children's animated series Blue's Clues ended its run on Nickelodeon. Hosted first by Steve Burns and later by Donovan Patton, it first premiered as a part of the cable network's Nick Jr. block on September 8, 1996. The beloved series followed a dog named Blue, who left clues allowing the audience and host to deduce her daily plans. Of course, you can't keep a good dog down, so 13 years later, on November 11, 2019, Nickelodeon brought Blues back in a brand new show called Blue's Clues and You. The series had a new host, Josh Dela Cruz, but otherwise was pretty similar to the classic series, even scoring guest appearances from the 2 original hosts. The Blue's Clues reboot would run for 4 seasons and score a handful of Daytime Emmy nominations before being canceled in 2024 and removed from the Paramount Plus streaming service. And on August 24th, the International Astronomical Union threw us all for a loop when they removed Pluto's status as a planet, 76 years after its discovery. The demotion came because the IAU had redefined the word planet at their 26th General Assembly. And under the new taxonomy, Pluto was now, technically, just a dwarf planet.
G'day, I'm Steve Irwin, and these are highly venomous sea crates.
On September 4th, internationally respected naturalist and television host Steve Irwin, famously known as the crocodile hunter, died after being attacked by a stingray while scuba diving. The sea creature's barb pierced Irwin's chest and penetrated his heart, causing his death before paramedics could arrive. Irwin was 44 years old at the time of his passing. And on September 19th, the Thai military staged a coup d'etat in Bangkok, revoking the constitution, declaring martial law, and throwing the country into chaos. It was Thailand's first non-constitutional change of government since 1991, and it came on the heels of a year-long political crisis that had engulfed the prime minister and his allies.
You remember how to read the coverage?
Not so well, sir.
Look at me. What you do is you go out there and you look before you throw the ball. You look and see where the defense is, and you see where our guys are. You with me?
Yes, sir.
Then you throw the ball to our guys. You got that?
A whole lot of important secrets stopped being secret after Australian computer programmer and political activist Julian Assange launched WikiLeaks on August 4th. A well-known computer hacker, Assange was inspired to create the controversial website for whistleblowers by Daniel Ellsberg's famous release of the Pentagon Papers in 1971. After decades of contentious international legal wrangling, Julian Assange pled guilty to 1 count of publishing U.S. military secrets in a U.S. district court in Saipan. Assange was sentenced to the 5 years he had already served in a British prison while fighting extradition to the U.S. and was allowed to return to Australia a free man without any further punishment.
You know what we do here? My section? Sir, yes, sir, I have an idea.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's say you have no idea and leave it at that, okay? No idea. Zip. None.
On October 7th, journalist and human rights activist Anna Politkovskaya was shot and killed in the elevator of her apartment in Moscow. 3 Chechens were tried and acquitted in connection with the crime. But the fact that she was known for being a harsh critic of Vladimir Putin and was killed on his birthday has caused many to suspect one of his allies was behind the killing. 2 days later, on October 9th, the internet search engine giant Google bought the video hosting website YouTube for a cool $1.6 billion. At the time, YouTube was a rising star on the internet, and its staying power was considered questionable. But that didn't stop Google from completing what was, at the time, the most expensive purchase it ever made in its history. Google still owns YouTube today. After being suspected of having a secret nuclear weapons development program since at least the early 1980s, North Korea shocked the world on October 9th by confirming the rumors with its very first nuclear test. The blast was estimated to be in the area of 1 kiloton, creating uncertainty over whether the North Koreans successfully tested an unusually small device or experienced a misfire of a larger device.
Where's Gary?
Gary's dead. I'm Jack Donaghy, new VP of Development for NBC, GE, Universal, Kmart.
We own Kmart now.
No.
Jag Shamash. My name is Borat. I'm journalist for Kazakhstan. My government sent me to USA to make a movie film. Please, you look.
Those who were lucky enough to witness David Bowie's 3-song set at the Black Ball fundraiser in New York's Hammerstein Ballroom on November 9th couldn't have known it, but they were seeing the final show of the rock legend's career. Bowie performed Wild as the Wind, Fantastic Voyage, and Changes, the last song as a duet with Alicia Keys. On January 10, 2016, just 2 days after his final album Black Star was released, rock icon David Bowie died of liver cancer at his Lafayette Street home in New York City. Though he was diagnosed with his condition 18 months earlier, Bowie kept it a secret, so his death came as a shock to his friends, as well as his fans. News of death was met with impromptu memorials around the world, countless tributes from famous musicians, and a special medley of his most famous songs performed by Lady Gaga at the 58th Annual Grammy Awards. And on November 11th, Japanese video game fans would become the first to get access to Sony's brand new PlayStation 3. The PS3 would be the first Sony system to integrate social gaming features and use Blu-ray discs as a storage medium. Released in North America just 6 days later, it was initially criticized for its high price and small game selection.
Dry martini.
Oui, monsieur.
Wait. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily, shake it over rice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'll have one of those.
So will I.
If you lived in North America and had $250 on November 19th, you could have gotten yourself one of the first Nintendo Wiis. The system was hyped up by a $200 million ad campaign that worked to expand Nintendo's demographic to include parents and grandparents. It was generally well received, but struggled with the perception it was just for casual gamers. On December 6th, NASA made interplanetary news by revealing photographs taken by the Mars Global Surveyor, which depict the presence of liquid water on Mars sometime between 1999 and 2001. The photos would be followed by additional evidence showing sustained water flows at other sites.
It's time to play Deal or No Deal.
Come on, take the deal.
That's right, take the deal.
Deal! No deal!
It's Deal or No Deal at Toys R Us. Get your game piece in this weekend's paper. Prizes up to $1 million.
No deal!
You win!
Toys R Us, the world's greatest toy store.
The music world mourned on December 25th after James Brown, the godfather of soul, died of congestive heart failure brought on by pneumonia while at a hospital in Atlanta. The singer's condition didn't seem life-threatening when he checked himself in, and he was still planning on playing 2 shows he had later in the week, saying, "I'm the hardest working man in show business, and I'm not going to let them down." Brown was 73 years old at the time of his death. After spending years in captivity awaiting his fate, former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was executed by hanging on December 30th. A video broadcast on Iraqi state television showed the execution live, up to the point the noose was placed on Hussein's neck. Witnesses described the dictator as a broken man, resigned to his fate. And according to media reports, celebrations broke out in Iraq after the execution. And that's how 2006 ended, with the Saddam Hussein era over for good in Iraq, with liquid water making science fans wonder if there could be life on Mars, and with everyone else trying to decide between the Wii and the PS3. Of course, they didn't know Steve Jobs was about to drop the first iPhone. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2007.
Wow. Looks like a big brain. It's the brains of the operation.
2007, the year The Simpsons finally got a movie. And we needed it. 2006 had taken a lot from us. In just 1 year, we lost the crocodile hunter, the hardest working man in show business,
Killed James Brown.
and Pluto, the planet, not the dog. But it wasn't all bad. We also made a map of the human genome, discovered water on Mars, and got the best James Bond movie since GoldenEye. so it was a little all over the place. 2007, on the other hand, would be the year we started using words hashtag, listicle, and tweet, which tells you pretty much all you need to know about where we were at the time and where we were headed. We're going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in 2007. This is Timeline. And it's gonna be a fun one, because it's all about 2007. Now, are you ready to learn what happened the year the United Nations designated International Heliophysical Year for reasons you're unlikely to care about?
Absolutely. Delighted. This was a disaster.
On January 4th, Nancy Pelosi kicked off the year in style when she became the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives in the history of the United States.
It's an historic moment for the Congress. It's an historic moment for the women of America.
Taking the gavel from outgoing Speaker John Boehner, Pelosi also became the first woman to be second in line to the presidency, behind only the vice president. She would serve 2 terms until 2011, and then become Speaker again in 2018. And on January 7th, NBA history was made when the now legendary Phil Jackson won his 900th game as a head coach. Jackson's Lakers beat the Mavericks 101-98, making their coach the fastest to ever reach 900 wins, a record previously held by Pat Riley. Then on January 9th, Apple CEO Steve Jobs changed the worlds of communication and computers forever when he introduced the first iPhone at the Macworld keynote in San Francisco.
Well, what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen.
The new device combined the features of a touchscreen mobile phone, an iPod, a camera, and a web browser, making it the first modern smartphone. After all the hype, thousands of customers lined up outside Apple stores across the country when the iPhone went on sale in the United States on June 29th. The first modern smartphone was not exactly cheap. It cost $499 for the 4 gig model and $100 more for the 8 gig model, and both required a 2-year contract. It would be discontinued a year later after selling over 6 million units. Tragedy struck on February 8th when model, actress, and pop culture personality Anna Nicole Smith died of an accidental drug overdose in her Hollywood, Florida hotel room. Smith, who was the 1993 Playboy Playmate of the Year, had 11 different drugs in her system at the time of her death, none of which were illegal, but not all of which had been prescribed to her.
We are convinced that this case is an accidental overdose with no other criminal elements present.
I'm just so sad. I'm so sad for that baby, and I'm so sad for everybody who loves her. She was a really sweet woman, and I'm sad that she's gone.
And on February 19th, David Karp and Marco Arment launched the first version of the microblogging social network, Tumblr. Karp's first post talked up the site as a new philosophy for blogging.
Tumblr is very much about creative expression and sort of limitless creative expression, the fact that your page can look any way you want.
As of 2024, there are over 74 million monthly users of the Tumblr app in just the US. And Al Gore was probably very happy to thank the Academy on February 25th, when his feature, An Inconvenient Truth, won the Academy Award for Best Documentary.
Inspired by his fight for 30 years to tell this truth to all of us.
My fellow Americans, we need to solve the climate crisis. It's not a political issue, it's a moral issue.
The film, which chronicled Gore's campaign to educate the world about the dangers of global warming, currently stands as the 11th highest-grossing documentary in the history of the U.S. According to Gore, all of its profits were donated to a bipartisan campaign to fight global warming. Of course, all successful movies have to get a sequel, and Al Gore's Academy Award-winning documentary would be no exception. An inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power, written by Al Gore, was first screened at the Sundance Film Festival on January 19, 2017. It wouldn't be as successful as its predecessor, but would gross over $5 million worldwide and receive a nomination for Best Documentary at the 71st British Academy Film Awards. Then on March 3rd, the heavens put on a show of their own when the moon moved into the Earth's shadow, creating a lunar eclipse that turned our planet's only natural satellite a deep brick red. The stunning astronomical event was visible from Europe and Africa, as well as parts of North America, South America, Asia, and Australia. 3 days later, I. Louis Scooter Libby was found guilty of obstruction of justice and 5 counts of perjury. Libby was an aide to President George W. Bush, accused of interfering with an investigation of White House officials who had leaked the identity of CIA agent Valerie Plame Wilson. he was sentenced to 30 months in prison, but that penalty was commuted by Bush 2 months later, and Libby was pardoned by President Trump in 2018. Then on March 29th, Rihanna dropped Umbrella, featuring Jay-Z. The song, which was the first single and opening track from her third studio album, Good Girl Gone Bad, would hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on June 9th, where it would stay for 7 consecutive weeks.
Hello, I'm a Mac. And I'm a PC.
And I'm a Mac genius.
A what?
Oh, CPC, every Apple store has a thing called a Genius Bar. It's a place where people like her will answer any questions you have about your Mac.
Oh, a genius. Well, all right, then. What's pi to the 5th decimal?
3.14159.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I loathe Mac?
11.
Ooh, she's good. Very good.
Meanwhile, down under, 2.2 million people in Sydney, Australia, turned off their lights for a whole hour on March 31st, as part of the first ever Earth Hour. Organized by the World Wildlife Fund, the purpose of Earth Hour was to show climate skeptics that the general public was concerned about climate change. It has been repeated every year since.
I have finished my course. I have ceased to enjoy and suffer. Please transfer your love and your benevolence to your living fellow men.
And so it went on April 11th, when acclaimed American novelist Kurt Vonnegut died at age 84 from head trauma sustained during a fall at his Manhattan home. Best known for his novels Slaughterhouse-Five, Cat's Cradle, and Breakfast of Champions, his career spanned over a half a century, and his work is still highly revered today. One of the deadliest mass shootings in American history started at 7:15 a.m. on April 16th, when 23-year-old Virginia Tech student Sung Hoi Cho shot a resident assistant in a campus dormitory. He then headed to a classroom building where, after chaining and locking several of the main exits, he went door to door shooting people with 2 handguns. He would kill 32 and wound another dozen before taking his own life just 10 minutes after a shooting spree began.
Mr. Webley, I trust you have a license for that firearm.
I does for this one.
Does for this one? He does for this one. What do you mean by this one?
With the power of Grayskull.
Boris Yeltsin, the first president of Russia, died of cardiac arrest on April 23rd. As the man who oversaw the dismantling of the Soviet Union, his funeral was held at the Christ the Savior Cathedral, which was destroyed by Stalin and rebuilt by Yeltsin. Held on April 25th, it was the first funeral for a head of state to be sanctioned by the Russian Orthodox Church since the funeral of Tsar Alexander III in 1894. And while we're talking politics, British Prime Minister Tony Blair announced his intention to resign as leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister of the UK on May 10th.
I've been Prime Minister of this country for just over 10 years. I think that's long enough for me, but more especially for the country.
Blair's announcement, which came after 10 years on the job, triggered the 2007 Labour Party leadership election. He would officially resign on June 27th and be succeeded as Prime Minister by his Chancellor, Gordon Brown. And then on May 16th, Nicolas Sarkozy took office as the 6th president of the French Fifth Republic and the 23rd president of France overall. A conservative politician from the Union for a Popular Movement party, Sarkozy's time in office would be greatly shaped by the global financial and economic crisis of 2007. He would ultimately stay in the job until 2012.
I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
Heads, then.
Well done. Don't put it in your pocket.
Sir?
Don't put it in your pocket. It's your lucky quarter.
Where you want me to put it?
Anywhere not in your pocket. Or it'll get mixed in with the others and become just a coin.
On June 1st, retired pathologist Jack Kevorkian was released from prison. Known in the media as Dr. Death for his determination to assist terminally ill patients who want to commit suicide, Kevorkian had served 8 years of his 10 to 25-year sentence after being convicted for the 1998 murder of Thomas Young.
I will not do it again because it would be counterproductive. What would it serve? What purpose?
An era in television ended on June 10th when 12 million people around the world tuned in to see the series finale of HBO's critically acclaimed mafia drama, The Sopranos. Created by David Chase, the show premiered in January of 1999 and controversially ended with an abrupt cut to black that caused many viewers to think their cable had gone out. Nonetheless, it is still widely considered one of the greatest shows ever on TV. 14 years after it signed off on HBO, David Chase returned to the Sopranos universe in the theatrical prequel film The Many Saints of Newark. The film depicted a young Tony Soprano, played by James Gandolfini's son Michael, learning the ropes of organized crime from his idol and uncle, Dickie Moltisanti.
Welcome to the main attraction, Sonic and the Secret Rings, rated everyone.
We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. But you can call us Autobots for short.
Autobots.
What's cracking, little bitches? My first lieutenant. Designation Jazz. This looks like a cool place to kick it.
And after 35 years, Bob Barker hosted his last episode of The Price is Right on June 15th.
I want to thank you very, very much for inviting me into your homes for the last 50 years.
The 83-year-old MC taped his first installment way back in 1972, and by the time he called it quits, he had done 6,586 of them. He would be replaced by comedian Drew Carey, who took over the following October.
And please remember, help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
A cheeky marketing campaign went terribly wrong on the morning of June 29th, when the Boston Police Department and Fire Department were called in to check on multiple mysterious blinking placards hung around the city. What were presumed to be explosives turned out to be a publicity stunt for the upcoming Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. The placards, which had LED lights designed to look like one of the Moon Knight characters from the show, caused a citywide scare, resulting in delays in traffic and subway service.
In a post-9/11 world, who puts cartoon characters attached to batteries on bridges around Boston? Some sort of moron?
I didn't feel scared at all. I wasn't intimidated. I knew it was a Moon Knight. It looked like a cartoon character.
In the end, Cartoon Network's parent company, Turner Broadcasting System, paid $2 million in compensation, and the artists responsible for the stunt, Sean Stevens and Peter Burdovsky, agreed to perform community service and give a public apology.
Any other hair questions are definitely welcome. Hair today, gone tomorrow.
At 6 a.m. on the 1st of July, new regulations in England brought a smoking ban into effect nationwide.
Make a place for the smokers and a place for the non-smokers that's segregated off, not herders out here like bloody prostitutes standing on this corner.
With the ban already in effect in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, the passage of the English law made it illegal to smoke in indoor public places anywhere in the UK.
Everybody else's tobacco is poisonous. Lucky Strikes is toasted. Advertising is based on one thing: happiness.
The seventh and final book in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, was released worldwide on July 21st. As the last installment in the massively successful series by J.K. Rowling, the book received an initial run of 12 million copies in the U.S. alone. Just 3 years later, The Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 premiered in Leicester Square in London. At 607 pages, the story in the book was far too much to fit into a single film, so it was split into two parts that were shot back-to-back by director David Yates. Part 2, the final film in the series, would drop July 7th, 2011. When all was said and done, Harry Potter films would gross over $5 billion.
I don't know why I avoided the Harry Potter books for so long. These are great. Just started number 6.
That's a good one. Dumbledore dies in that one. Yeah, I know. I didn't see it coming either.
My name is Rod, and I like to party.
Hi, my name is Dave, and I like to party.
No, Dave, I just said that I party, so maybe do something different for me.
My name is Dave, and I am the stuntman.
You know what? Let's move on.
And on August 4th, in a game at Yankee Stadium, Alex Rodriguez of the Bronx Bombers homered off Kyle Davies of the Kansas City Royals, and history was made.
Number 500 for Alex Rodriguez.
The dinger made the 32-year and 8-day-old Rodriguez the youngest player in MLB history to hit 500 home runs, a record that still stands today. And another baseball record fell just 3 days later on August 7th, when San Francisco giant Barry Bonds hit his 756th career home run to break Hank Aaron's long-standing MLB record on a full count with one out in the fifth inning. Possibly due to Bonds' controversial role in baseball's steroid scandals, neither the commissioner of baseball nor Aaron himself were in attendance. Disaster struck on August 15th when an 8.0 magnitude earthquake struck off the Pacific coast of Peru. The quake, which lasted a full 2 minutes, would kill almost 600 people while injuring nearly 2,300 others. Most seriously affected were the cities of Pisco, Ica, and Chincha Alta in the Ica region and San Vicente de Cañete in the Lima region. The intense earthquake was felt as far away as Hawaii.
So it's just McLovin?
Yeah.
That's badass. It is badass.
Really
It's a
cool.
Badass name.
Yeah.
A lot of people have weird names nowadays.
Chingy, Shakira, Rafe, Pax.
We arrested a man-lady who is legally named
I think he was Vietnamese, was with a PH, but it's still pretty shocking to see on a license.
Yeah.
This chicken flamethrower sandwich is amazing.
Yeah. Why do we have to inhale when we talk? Trust me, if you exhale, flames will shoot out of your mouth. What? He said flames. Just close your mouth.
EQ flamethrower chicken sandwich and the original flamethrower burger. Because one good burn deserves another.
Russia sent the world a scary message on September 11th when it field-tested the amusingly named father of all bombs. Allegedly yielding the equivalent of 44 tons of TNT, it was, at the time, claimed to be the most powerful non-nuclear weapon ever, surpassing even the GBU-43/B Massive Ordnance Air Blast, otherwise known as the mother of all bombs.
The intro kind of has a very toddling sound, but it's definitely the hook.
At that point in time, we were two nerdy liberal arts college students. The band was a joke about being rock stars. It was kind of performance art in a way, but not very high concept.
I would say no concept.
No concept.
On October 5th, after years of adamant denials, 3-time gold medal winning American sprinter Marion Jones admitted she used performance-enhancing steroids while preparing to compete at the Olympic Games in Sydney in 2000.
Making these false statements was an incredibly stupid thing for me to do. I have no one to blame but myself for what I've done.
In addition to being stripped of all her Olympic medals, Jones would plead guilty to related charges in a U.S. district court and serve 6 months in a federal prison. As if winning an Oscar wasn't enough already, on October 12th, Al Gore, in conjunction with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts to build up and disseminate greater knowledge about man-made climate change and to lay the foundations for the measures that are needed to counteract such change.
We have the ability to solve this crisis and avoid the worst, though not all, of its consequences if we act boldly, decisively, and quickly.
I am starving. Don't you have a photo shoot tomorrow? Stop eating.
I think she has a little junk in the trunk.
Got the jiggles. What are you talking about?
She said you have a lot of junk in your trunk.
I meant outside in your car. There's some stuff in your car we need to get out.
Marion Jones and Barry Bonds weren't the only star athletes to have drug-related scandals in 2007, because on November 1st, 5-time Grand Slam winner Martina Hingis admitted to testing positive for cocaine during Wimbledon.
Und für diese Art von Tennis gibt es nur ein Hilfsmittel: die Freude am Spiel.
Despite proclaiming her innocence, Hingis immediately retired from the sport rather than have a fight with anti-doping authorities. She would be suspended for 2 years and would start competing again in 2013, retiring for good 4 years later, while ranked at number 1 in the world. Prior to a key Supreme Court ruling on the legitimacy of his election, President Pervez Musharraf imposed a state of emergency rule in Pakistan on November 3rd.
Which saddens me the most. After all we have achieved in the past 7 years, I see in front of my eyes Pakistan's upsurge taking a downward trend.
Responding to what he described as a surge in Islamic militancy and judicial activism, Musharraf's order entailed suspending the Constitution and firing the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The order would remain in effect until December 15th. And wouldn't you know it, in 2013, the government of Pakistan charged Musharraf with high treason for implementing emergency rule and suspending the constitution back in 2007. The special court, which held hearings while Musharraf was in exile in Dubai, found him guilty and sentenced him to death in absentia. The ex-president, however, would die of natural causes in the United Arab Emirates in February of 2023. Launched on October 24th from Xichang Satellite Launch Center, China's first lunar satellite, Chang'e-1, entered lunar orbit on November 5th. It would relay its first picture of the moon's surface just 21 days later. Its mission finally ended on March 1st, 2009, when it crashed on the moon. And the world lost a true showman on November 30th, when legendary motorcycle daredevil Evel Knievel died of pulmonary disease at the age of 69. Famous for stunts like trying to jump Snake River Canyon on a rocket-powered motorcycle, Knievel had been suffering from diabetes and pulmonary fibrosis for years. Then, on November 30th, 5 people at a New Hampshire campaign office for presidential candidate Hillary Clinton were taken hostage by a local man who appeared to have a bomb strapped to his chest. The standoff lasted 5 hours before being resolved peacefully by police. The bomb was fake, and none of the 5 hostages, which included an infant, were hurt.
Very grateful that this difficult day has ended so well.
On December 8th, Florida Gators quarterback Tim Tebow became the first sophomore in the history of the NCAA to win the coveted Heisman Trophy. Tebow's incredible season, which resulted in over 3,200 passing yards, almost 900 rushing yards, 32 touchdown passes, and 23 rushing TDs, was one of the most impressive in the sport's history. And the sports world was rocked again on December 13th, when Major League Baseball released the results of an investigation into steroid use in the sport, conducted by Democratic Senator George Mitchell of Maine.
The evidence we uncovered indicates that this has not been an isolated problem.
At over 400 pages, the bombshell report listed the names of 89 players believed to have used anabolic steroids and human growth hormones, including home run champ Barry Bonds. And crime certainly paid on December 20th, when the painting Portrait of Suzanne Bloch, 1904, by the Spanish artist Pablo Picasso, was stolen from the Sao Paulo Museum of Art. Thieves used a hydraulic jack to let themselves in, and were out with their stolen goods within 3 minutes. No alarms were raised, since the cash-strapped museum didn't even have one. The painting, worth over $50 million, was recovered in January of 2008. Finally, on December 27th, former Pakistan Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto was assassinated by a suicide bomber in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. Bhutto was at the time the leader of the opposition party Pakistan People's Party and was campaigning for an election in January of 2008. 23 others were killed in the explosion, which was tentatively linked to the terrorist group Al-Qaeda. And that's how 2007 ended, with Al Gore polishing his Oscar and Nobel Peace Prize, and everyone else using their new iPhones to figure out which roided-up ballplayer was the biggest disappointment. It was so distracting, a lot of people didn't even notice that on February 10th, a junior United States Senator from Illinois had announced he was running for president. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2008. 2008. A year of record-breaking musical moments, fascinating feats of science, and a whole lot of high-profile crime.
I liked it personally. I loved it!
Plus, we saw historical presidential election, the Beijing Olympics, and tons of game-changing pop culture. Well, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So, yeah. Today, we're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in 2008. This is Timeline. You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey. This is 2008. Now, get ready to be so 2008.
What you gonna do about Ghostbusters?
What is that?
That's the Ghostbusters theme song.
On the very first day of the year, New Hampshire made headlines for legalizing same-sex unions. The bill had actually been signed back in May 2007 by Governor John Lynch, but didn't go into effect until the new year. This made New Hampshire the first state to accept same-sex unions without a court order or legal threat.
You know the business, and I know the chemistry. I'm thinking maybe you and I could partner up. Either that, or I turn you in.
An omen of an impending recession, the global stock market suffered a serious crash, resulting in another Black Monday on January 21st.
The stock market is now down 21%.
Because we're now down 43%.
European stocks saw their worst one-day results since 9/11, and Asian stocks plummeted as much as 15%.
Now, I know I worked really hard. It's easy for people to just say, oh, it's luck, you know, and maybe it is.
One day later, the world lost a big screen icon. Heath Ledger, who was only 28 years old when he passed from an accidental drug overdose, had starred in movies like 1999's 10 Things I Hate About You, 2001's A Knight's Tale, and 2005's Brokeback Mountain. But audiences would come to know him best for a movie that was about to be released posthumously.
Heath Ledger has left us an original and enduring legacy.
It's Grammy's 50th birthday, and everybody's coming to the party.
The 50th Grammy Awards took place on February 10th. Amy Winehouse cleaned up, winning 5 awards, including Song of the Year for Rehab, to which the Grammys did not say no, no, no. And jazz pianist Herbie Hancock won Album of the Year with his tribute to Joni Mitchell called River, the Joni Letters.
What a beautiful day this is in Los Angeles.
1 week later, Kosovo formally announced its independence from Serbia after 3 years of talks initiated by the UN. With Russia's backing, Serbia called the move illegal, and many Serbs living in Kosovo vehemently opposed it. But that didn't stop the fledgling nation from seceding on February 17th. After a heated battle against Sony's Blu-ray disc, Toshiba recalled its HD DVDs and put an end to the technological format war for good. Thanks to companies like Walmart and Netflix picking up Blu-rays, as well as PlayStation consoles using the tech, Sony found themselves with a significant edge in the market. And so Toshiba had no choice but to call it quits. Good thing everyone still uses physical media, right? After 49 years in power, Fidel Castro announced his retirement as the president of Cuba after surgery for intestinal bleeding left him in a state of deteriorated health. The National Assembly of People's Power voted unanimously for Castro's brother, Raul, to take his place, which he happily did until 2018. Fidel himself remained an active member of Cuban politics until his 2016 death at the age of 91. His ashes were entombed in the Santa Ifigenia Cemetery in Santiago de Cuba after 9 days of public mourning. The online video platform Hulu launched for public access on March 12th.
We've created Hulu. Hulu beams TV directly to your portable computing devices anytime, anywhere, for free.
After 4.5 months of beta testing, the site was finally ready for wide release, with TV shows like The Simpsons and Miami Vice available alongside NBA and NHL games.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my position to burden you people with the ugly details of this Elliot Spitzer nonsense. But it just seems like the more we find out about this, the uglier and nastier it becomes.
How much worse could it get?
Well, here, I'm going to show you.
Due to immense pressure from his colleagues and the general public, New York Governor Elliot Spitzer stepped down from office after a scandal involving him and an escort agency was unearthed.
I've begun to atone for my private failings with my wife, Soda, my children, and my entire family.
David Patterson replaced Spitzer, making him both New York's first black and blind governor.
Satisfy your hunger fast with new Chef Boyardee mac and cheese. It's made with real cheese sauce and made to tame the beast.
After 6 years of marriage, Paul McCartney, the bassist from the Beatles, divorced his then-wife, Heather Mills. The couple had a daughter together, and though McCartney paid almost $50 million in the settlement, Mills was not happy. After the judge disagreed with the claim that McCartney restricted Mills' career, she poured a jug of water on McCartney's solicitor in the middle of the courtroom. Unsurprisingly, that did not help her case. The small Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan became a democracy after a century under a monarchy on March 24th. 79% of the 320,000 registered voters showed up to the polls and abolished the absolute monarchy after the nation's king pushed for change. The Bhutan Peace and Prosperity Party took the majority of the 47 parliamentary seats, with the People's Democratic Party winning the remaining few. Later that month, Aloha Airlines said aloha to its 61 years of business when it announced it would be permanently ending passenger services.
This is a celebration of a fabulous, fabulous ohana. One last time, you guys, here we go.
The airline, which serviced Hawaii, as you probably guessed, could not compete with larger companies and was struggling to make ends meet due to the rising price of jet fuel.
Thanks for making your choice, Aloha Airlines, mahalo, and welcome on board.
Speaking of Blue Hawaii,
Hi. Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey's song, Touch My Body, soared to the #1 spot on Billboard's Hot 100 and made music industry history. With its success, the pop singer had accumulated 18 chart-topping hits, beating out Elvis Presley for the world record. In other words, Mariah Carey is much more than a hound dog. One day later, more music history was made when Beyoncé and Jay-Z got married. The ceremony was held in secret, but the details of their relationship were anything but. And since their wedding, the marriage has been rife with cheating scandals and acclaimed albums about those cheating scandals. But they celebrated their 16th anniversary in 2024. When you're crazy in love, you're crazy in love. On April 5th, Academy Award-winning actor Charlton Heston passed away in the company of his wife, Lydia. The 84-year-old left behind a son and daughter, as well as an impressive filmography.
Yes, Gordon Street.
Starring in movies like 1959's Ben-Hur, 1968's Planet of the Apes, and 1973's Soylent Green. The fourth installment in the Grand Theft Auto series became an immediate sensation. The video game, which was critically acclaimed despite its controversially violent content, was not only the highest-grossing video game release of all time, but the highest-grossing entertainment product ever released. It would only be dethroned by its own successor when Grand Theft Auto 5 made $6 billion in revenue, outselling not just every video game ever made, but also movie giants like Gone with the Wind, Star Wars, and Avatar. GTA really made a killing, and a stealing, and every other crime you can do in the game. April of 2008 ended in a grimly interesting way, thanks to a pair of previously discovered remains near Yekaterinburg in Russia. Using DNA testing, forensic scientists were able to deduce that the remains were of Grand Duchess Anastasia Nikolaevna and her brother Alexei Nikolaevich. Anastasia was long rumored to have escaped. Over the years, several women had claimed to be the long-lost Grand Duchess, with the legend ultimately inspiring an animated film and a stage musical. This discovery put the rumors to bed for good, but at least we got some catchy tunes.
Honestly, expect us to believe that that was a bodyguard in a suit.
It is one thing to question the official story and another thing entirely to make wild accusations or insinuate that I'm a superhero. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Seth MacFarlane, known for creating animated shows like Family Guy and American Dad, made the deal of the century, literally.
Yes, we won the lottery!
On May 4th, he signed a deal with 20th Century Fox to become TV's highest-paid writer in history. For $100 million, Fox was able to keep MacFarlane and his TV shows on their network for another 4 years.
What's exciting about Seth MacFarlane making, what is it, like $100 million, is that now I have a goal, I have a focus on who I'm going to sleep with.
I don't know what to do with that much money. I'll put it in the bank. That's the responsible thing to do.
I'm a banana! How many are clothes? I'm a banana!
I burned.
We both enjoyed that. Now I want you to introduce my greatest creation, the new Toasty Torpedo.
The new Toasty Torpedo?
Yes, Scott. You make one.
Me?
Put it in me, Scott. It's over a foot of Quiznos flavor on Slim Sleek ciabatta for only $4. Say it, Scott.
Only $4?
Say it sexy.
Only $4?
Sexier.
Only $4.
11 days later, same-sex marriage was legalized in the state, making it the second U.S. state after Massachusetts in 2004 to solidify the equal rights of gay couples.
The fact that some people would like to undo our I do makes me very sad.
The news came after an attempted ban on same-sex marriage was struck down by the court in San Francisco.
Marion Ravenwood is your mother.
Oh, for God's sake, Indy.
No, I mean, I never thought that you...
I would have a life after you left.
That's not what I meant.
A damn good life.
Well, so have I.
Yeah? You still leaving a trail of human wreckage?
You looking for a date?
With anybody. but you.
Apparently, following Bhutan's example, Nepal ended its 240-year-old monarchy and became a federal democratic republic on May 28. In the subsequent election, the Maoists, or the Unified Communist Party of Nepal, became the majority party. A tragic fire struck the Universal Studio Hollywood theme park and studio backlot on the 1st of June after a worker used a blowtorch to heat asphalt shingles.
Fortunately, nothing irreplaceable was lost. We have duplicates, and obviously there's a lot of work to replicate.
The disaster destroyed a hoard of master recordings from artists like Billie Holiday and Judy Garland, archived film copies, and several iconic fixtures of the backlot. Additionally, the fake New York street used in countless productions, the Back to the Future clock tower, and a popular King Kong-themed attraction were all lost. 3 weeks later, noted comedian George Carlin passed away at the age of 71 from heart failure.
Yeah, dying shouldn't be that bad. It shouldn't be that bad. We're all going to do it. It's one of the few fair things in life. Everybody catches it once.
Carlin was well known for his poignant comedy, social commentary, and political satire.
Oh, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
His 7 dirty words routine remains one of the most iconoclastic and influential routines to ever grace the stage. From the death of a legend to the end of an era, Bill Gates announced he was stepping down from his position as Microsoft's chairman on June 27th.
And so this will be the first time since I was 17 that I won't have my full-time Microsoft job.
Then President Steve Ballmer replaced the company founder and remained in power until 2014. Gates, for his part, took on a part-time role at Microsoft to spend more time on his charity work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Never doubt the magic of software.
And to cap off the month, the world witnessed a scientific marvel as the first ever pregnant transgender man gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Thomas Beatty, living in Bend, Oregon, chose to become pregnant via donor sperm since his wife, Nancy, was unable to conceive due to a prior hysterectomy. The story became a news sensation, and Beatty would go on to advocate for trans and reproductive rights. In a sibling rivalry for the ages, Venus and Serena Williams faced off on July 5th for the Wimbledon Singles Championship. Defending her title, Venus had a lot to lose to her little sister, but lucky for her, she came out on top, marking her 5th win at Wimbledon. The Belgian-owned InBev was already the world's largest brewing company before acquiring Anheuser-Busch for a cool $52 billion.
I think it's a horrible move on Anheuser-Busch's part.
It disgusts me. It's a happy day in Belgium.
After the merger, the company became a veritable titan of industry with around 300 brands on tap, including Budweiser, Bud Light, and Stella Artois.
Criminals in this town used to believe in things. Honor. Respect.
Look at you. What do you believe in, huh? What do you believe in?
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
Radovan Karadzic, or the Butcher of Bosnia, was the president of Republika Srpska during the Bosnian War in the mid-90s. After being indicted for war crimes, he fled and lay in hiding for years before finally being arrested on July 21, 2008. He was extradited to the Netherlands and charged with 11 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity. But that's not where his story ends. 8 years later, at 70 years old, Karadzic was finally found guilty of the Srebrenica massacre and sentenced to 40 years in prison.
The chamber hereby sentences you, Radovan Karadzic, to a single sentence of 40 years of imprisonment,
which would later be amended to a life sentence.
Arrested for prostitution. I can't believe it. Sophia, we're innocent.
I know that. I can't believe these dumb cops would think anyone would pay money to sleep with you.
Estelle Getty, best known for her role as Sophia Petrillo on The Golden Girls, died on July 22, 2008. At 84 years old, Getty suffered from dementia but passed peacefully in her Hollywood home surrounded by family. Thank you for being a friend, Estelle.
All right, we've already figured out how to do this. The beds match up perfectly. And here's the thing, it'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activities. Please say yes.
You don't need permission from us to build bunk beds. You're adults.
Hey, I never asked you. Yeah. You like guacamole?
The following month, the Summer Olympics kicked off in Beijing. 11,000 athletes from 200 national Olympic committees congregated in China's capital city and celebrated the 26th occurrence of the modern Olympic Games. Afghanistan, Mauritius, Tajikistan, and Togo brought home their first ever medals during the Games, and India, Mongolia, and Panama each took home their first gold. Meanwhile, American swimmer Michael Phelps set the record for most gold medals won in a single instance of the Olympics. Founded by Brian Chesky, Joe Gebbia, and Nathan Blaharczyk, the short-term rental company Airbnb launched in August of 2008, originally taking shape as airbedandbreakfast.com. Whoever came up with the acronym deserves a raise. The company saw its first customers during an industrial design conference, where attendees were having trouble finding nearby accommodations. Since those humble beginnings, Airbnb has grown into a worldwide service, bridging the gaps between millions of hosts and travelers every year. Pop diva Lady Gaga shocked the world when she dropped her first studio album called The Fame on August 19th. Gaga was an immediate sensation thanks to her catchy music and striking appearance, and the album was a huge financial success. At the 52nd Annual Grammy Awards, Gaga's debut album won Best Electronic/Dance Album, and her smash single, Poker Face, won Best Dance Recording. Guess they could read her, yes, they could read her Poker Face.
Both of them are exactly at 120 volt AC.
Hi, welcome to Progressive.com. How can I help you?
Well, I haven't shopped for car insurance in a while.
And you're worried that you've been paying too much, right?
Yeah.
We can compare your Progressive Direct rate with other top companies.
Seriously?
Yeah. Look at the deal we just got him.
That's a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, or a big tricked out name tag.
Making sure you get a great deal. Now that's Progressive.
In the last days of August 2008, Senator Barack Obama became the first African American to be nominated by a major political party for President of the United States.
Lincoln said to a nation far more divided than ours, "We are not enemies, but friends. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection."
His battle for the presidency was just beginning, but we'll check in on that in a bit.
In Alexander Dumas' book, what was the name of the third musketeer? Watch it. I guess you know the answer.
Do you believe it? I don't.
I want to shake your hand.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. How many bombs have you disarmed?
873.
873. 873. What's the best way to go about disarming one of these things?
The way you don't die, sir.
That's a good one.
After 5,123 performances, 4 Tony Awards, 7 Drama Desk Awards, and the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, Rent finally closed at the Nederlander Theater in New York. The show, created by the late Jonathan Larson, ran for 12 years, but was especially relevant in 2008 during the housing crisis. Speaking of which, the world was hit with the worst economic freefall since the Great Depression during the global financial crisis, which reached a devastating turning point on September 15th, when the international financial services firm Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy on over $600 billion of assets. Beginning in 2007, a combination of the U.S. residential real estate bubble, high-risk practices by private and public institutions around the globe, and widespread dealings with financial derivatives based on risky subprime mortgages that targeted low-income borrowers led to a worldwide financial collapse, sending countless banks and financial institutions into bankruptcy almost instantly, and bursting the housing bubble in the U.S. At the time, Lehman Brothers was the 4th largest investment bank in America. Their historic bankruptcy filing triggered the biggest drop in the stock market since the terrorist attacks in 2001. 7 years later, the crisis would be dramatized in the 2015 film The Big Short. Based on the 2010 book by Michael Lewis, the film features an ensemble cast using a blend of comedy and true-life research to explain the complicated economic causes behind the collapse.
So whenever you hear subprime, think
SpaceX's 4th Falcon 1 rocket became the world's first privately developed space launch vehicle to successfully make orbit on September 28. The 70-foot-tall rocket was carrying a 364-pound mass of aluminum meant to simulate a satellite, which they successfully delivered to space after 3 failed attempts to do so. O.J. Simpson was acquitted for the slayings of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman back in 1995, but he wouldn't escape the naked gun of the law entirely. On October 3, 2008, Simpson was found guilty of robbery and kidnapping after an incident in Las Vegas.
Count 1, conspiracy to commit a crime, guilty. Count 2, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, guilty.
The former NFL legend conspired with an accomplice to intimidate and rob a dealer selling memorabilia from Simpson's time with the Buffalo Bills. Simpson was sentenced to a maximum of 33 years in prison, with an opportunity for parole in 2017, which was indeed granted on October 1st of that year. The very next day, tech executive Sheryl Sandberg became Facebook's second highest-ranking employee under founder Mark Zuckerberg after she was brought on as the company's COO. The former vice president of global online sales and operations at Google is often credited for making Facebook profitable, and she maintained her position as COO for 14 years before finally stepping down in 2022. Spotify made its first playlist on the 7th of October. Founded by Daniel Ek and Martin Lawrenson in Stockholm, Sweden, the music streaming platform began its life as an invite-only service and was free to use with ads and limited features. Paid users enjoyed the full feature list as well as ad-free listening, though it was only available in European countries at the time. Today, Spotify is available worldwide and was the 47th most visited website in the world in December of 2023. After $8 billion in several years, the Large Hadron Collider was officially inaugurated in Geneva, Switzerland on October 21st, though it wouldn't be fully operational until the following year. The LHC lives up to its name. As the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator, the LHC was built so physicists could study theories on particles and the subatomic realm. Listen, we've seen the subatomic realm, and it wasn't great. Prolific novelist and author of Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton passed away on November 4th at the age of 66 after a battle with lymphoma. In addition to bringing dinosaurs back from extinction, Crichton co-created the long-running medical drama ER, and many of his other novels were adapted into films. Wesley Snipes is in one of them.
We're playing that most American of games.
Which is what?
Catch-up.
That same day, Barack Obama defeated Republican candidate Senator John McCain to become President of the United States.
That out of many we are one, that while we breathe, we hope, and those who tell us that we can't, we will respond with that timeless creed that sums up the spirit of a people. Yes, we can.
Garnering 365 electoral votes and nearly 53% of the popular vote, Obama served 2 terms from 2009 to 2017. Not one to be outdone by her musical colleagues, Taylor Swift released her second studio album, Fearless, and officially launched herself into stardom. Fearless debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and spent 11 non-consecutive weeks there, making it the longest run of the 2000s. Fearless would go on to win Billboard's Album of the Year and an American Music Award in 2009.
To the fans, thank you so much.
As well as the Grammy for the Album of the Year in 2010. What a love story.
Your scent is like a drug to me. You're like my own personal brand of heroin. I still don't know if I can control myself.
I know you can.
Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich was arrested on corruption charges after a 5-year investigation of his administration.
It was a phone call from me to the governor advising him that we had a warrant for his arrest.
Blagojevich and his chief of staff, John Harris, were accused of conspiring to commit mail and wire fraud, in addition to influence peddling in a deal involving the Chicago Tribune. The governor was found guilty and sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. Somehow, his helmet hair avoided charges. To cap off the year, billionaire financier Bernard "Bernie" Madoff was arrested on December 11th. The scheme was estimated to have generated around $65 billion over multiple decades. And in a twist worthy of a fictionalized crime drama, it wouldn't have become known at all if it weren't for Madoff's 2000 and late. We suffered through a recession, saw many world firsts, and witnessed the court system at work. But in the end, we brought home the gold. Now get ready to have a bunch of songs stuck in your head because next year is full of pop music icons. Or if TV shows are more your style, get ready to hum the Parks and Rec theme and sing along with a cast of Glee. But that is all for next year.
I'm in your head, bro. Get ready.
Coming soon, 2009.
And when I say this is it, it really means this is it.
2009, the last year of the aughts. We made it, folks.
Now it's time to end.
We saw a historical presidential moment, a media juggernaut buying another media juggernaut, and financial advancements and innovations. We also saw the release of classic shows, movies, and music, while reckoning with the deaths of several icons. So we're going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in the 2000s. This is Timeline. Watch out for swine flu, because this one is all about 2009. Now, are you ready to learn what happened in the International Year of Astronomy, Natural Fibers, and the Gorilla? This is 2009.
I can feel it down in my lungs.
On January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto kicked off the year by mining the first block for the now controversial cryptocurrency and decentralized payment system known as Bitcoin. 9 days later, Nakamoto would make the first Bitcoin transaction by sending 10 Bitcoins to computer scientist Hal Finney. And no one knows how to explain it to this day.
I have nothing to do with Bitcoin.
On January 12th, Cristiano Ronaldo was awarded his first FIFA World Player of the Year award at a ceremony in Switzerland. Determined by a vote of national team coaches and captains, Ronaldo won by a record margin, prevailing over legendary Lionel Messi by over 250 votes. Goal! Things got scary for U.S. Airways Flight 1549 on January 15th, when a loss of engine power forced Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger to make an emergency landing in New York's Hudson River. In what would become known as the Miracle on the Hudson, Sully successfully brought the plane down, and all 155 people on board were rescued, inspiring Clint Eastwood to make a movie about it.
We've lost thrust on both engines. We are turning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia?
We are unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
American history was made on January 20th, when Illinois Senator Barack Obama was sworn in as the 44th President of the United States, becoming the first African American to ever hold the office.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Obama, who was administered his oath by Chief Justice John Roberts at the United States Capitol, would serve in the Oval Office for 8 years. On January 28th, Julian Assange's whistleblowing website, WikiLeaks, released 86 intercepted telephone recordings of politicians and businessmen involved in the 2008 Peru oil scandal. Among other things, the recordings, which kicked off the scandal dubbed Petrogate, captured the participants agreeing to pay a bribe in exchange for lucrative oil contracts.
Gentlemen, start your engines. May the best woman win.
Never thought we'd see you go out like this, Tammy.
Buenas noches.
Hi, Tammy.
You're going down. I am beautiful.
On February 8th, pop star Rihanna canceled her performance at the Grammy Awards after being assaulted by then-boyfriend Chris Brown. The singer was set to perform with Justin Timberlake, but dropped out after Brown was accused of attacking an unnamed woman in a car. That woman was eventually confirmed to be Rihanna, who had visible injuries from the attack.
I'll say that to any young girl who's going through domestic violence. Don't react off of love. F love.
February 18th was a good day for English fantasy author Terry Pratchett, who received a knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace. The 60-year-old author, best known for his long-running Discworld series, was recognized for having sold over 60 million books in his career. March 25th saw the release of Grindr, one of the first dating apps specifically for gay and bisexual men and transgender people. Founded by tech entrepreneur Joel Simkai, Grindr launched with both a free version, which allowed access to 100 profiles,
I like that guy. Yeah, he looks like the brother from Fresh Prince.
and a premium version for $2.99 that boasted twice as many profiles and no ads.
You got a lot of messages. Hey!
15 years later, it remains the most popular mobile app of its kind. The first case of the deadly H1N1 swine flu in the U.S. was reported in San Diego County, California on March 28th, and the second case would be reported in nearby Imperial County just 2 days later. From there, the epidemic would spread to Texas, New York, and then pretty much everywhere. More on that in a minute.
Committees make things happen. Committees are the lifeblood of our democratic system. That's really good. Write that down.
Yeah.
From time to time, when I think of an eloquent saying or a phrase, I have Tom write it down. He's collected them from my memoirs.
Here's Leslie's quote from Wednesday.
Dear PlayStation, my grandma won't stop watching Blu-ray movies on my PS3.
Look, for $299, you don't just get a sweet gaming machine. It's like you get the best Blu-ray player around built in for free. You know how old people like free stuff.
Yeah, but
You know what she did for fun when she was your age? She pushed a hoop with a stick.
But I want to play
With a stick.
On April 12th, the U.S. Navy rescued Captain Richard Phillips from the ship Maersk, Alabama. Phillips had been taken hostage in a lifeboat by Somali pirates on April 8th. The destroyer USS Bainbridge and the frigate USS Halliburton were dispatched to deal with the crisis and rescued Phillips by dispatching 3 pirates and capturing a 4th.
I want to thank my crew. We did it. I told you it wasn't going to be if, it's going to be when.
A dramatic, true-life event like this is required to have a thrilling film adaptation. The inevitable Captain Phillips movie debuted in theaters on October 11th, 2013.
Look at me. Sure. I'm the captain now.
Why is Tom Hanks in all of these? Legendary record producer Phil Spector was found guilty of the second-degree murder of actress Lana Clarkson on April 13th.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Philip Spector, guilty of the crime of second-degree murder.
Spector, famous for his work with Tina Turner, the Righteous Brothers, and the Beatles, would be sentenced to 19 years to life in prison, where he would die in 2021.
Well, we are going away for a romantic weekend to the Bahamas. In this day and age, it might be a good idea to take along some protection. What kind of protection?
2 armed Pinkerton guards.
The world lost a golden girl on April 25th when beloved actress Bea Arthur passed away from lung cancer at the age of 86. Arthur famously starred as Dorothy on the long-running sitcom The Golden Girls, as well as the eponymous character on the All in the Family spin-off Maude, and in the Star Wars Holiday Special. Once vaulted automobile company Chrysler filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on April 30th. One of the big 3 American automakers, the company had little choice after failing to agree with its creditors before a federal government-imposed deadline. From 60 to 0, real quick. Love was in the air on May 1st after same-sex marriage became legal in Sweden. The first same-sex couple to take the plunge were Johan Lundqvist and Alf Karlsson, who were married in a ceremony at Stockholm City Hall.
It was reported that the Romulans were in one ship, one massive ship.
And you know of this Klingon attack. How?
Sir, I intercepted and translated the message myself.
We're warping into a trap, sir. The Romulans waiting for us. I promise you that.
At 2:01 p.m. Eastern Time on May 11th, the Space Shuttle Atlantis lifted off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center on a mission to visit the Hubble Space Telescope. The shuttle's crew was to perform 5 spacewalks that would upgrade the telescope with state-of-the-art instruments designed to expand its capabilities and extend its lifespan. All right, gang, Hubble up. On May 17th, the public got its first look at a still-in-development version of the sandbox video game Minecraft. Now known as the classic version, it was the first in a series of public tests that would lead to a full release in November of 2011. Minecraft would become the best-selling video game in history, with over 300 million copies sold. Little did we know, Minecraft would captivate the world for 2 decades and counting, leading to the inevitable release of A Minecraft Story on April 14th, 2025. But Tom Hanks isn't in this one.
Don't I know it?
2 days later, on May 19th, the Sri Lankan Civil War ended 26 years after it had begun, with the total military defeat of the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. Seeking to avoid government persecution, the Tigers sought to create an independent Tamil state in the northeast portion of the island, but the Sri Lankan government prevailed. The conflict would ultimately kill 50,000 soldiers from both sides and an estimated 100,000 civilians. May saw the debut of a hit TV show and some revisionist history from Quentin Tarantino.
You might laugh because every time I sign my name, I put a gold star after it, but it's a metaphor. And metaphors are important. My gold stars are a metaphor for me being a star.
If you want to win the war tonight, we have to make a deal. I'm sure this mission of yours has a commanding officer. Ooh, that's a bingo.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. You're the chorus, my guy. Oh, Lord. Oh, jeez! Oh, why did you do that? Mr. Tyson would like to know, why is this tiger in your bathroom?
On June 11th, the World Health Organization deemed the outbreak of the H1N1 influenza strain, commonly referred to as swine flu, to be the first official pandemic in 41 years.
And we will all get through this together.
By the end of the month, over 130 deaths nationwide would be attributed to the virus. Good thing we never had to deal with anything like that again, right? Right?
Date is June 12, 2009. This is the last thing broadcasted in analog TV.
The analog TV era came to an end in the U.S. on June 12th, when the FCC mandated that all television broadcast signals switch from analog NTSC to digital ATSC transmission. Luckily, since the changeover had been long in the works, most U.S. households were already prepared with digital televisions or had made the switch by using a digital converter box.
No more analog! Yeah, no more analog! Done!
1, 2, 3. Oh my god, it's cold!
This is a library, not a lunchroom.
Hey, a book about wrestling?
Gushers fruit-flavored snacks.
Very, very sad news. Michael Jackson has died.
On June 25th, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, died of cardiac arrest in his Los Angeles home at the age of 50. One of the most commercially successful performers of all time, Jackson was famous for his work with the Jackson 5 and his solo albums like Thriller. Odds are you've heard one of his songs today. A memorial attended by over 20,000 fans and watched by 30 million people worldwide would follow on July 7th. The long arm of the law finally caught up with financier Bernie Madoff on June 29th, when he was sentenced to 150 years in prison for running the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Madoff apologized to his victims, but the judge nonetheless described him as extraordinarily evil and gave him the maximum possible sentence. Madoff, however, would only serve 12 of those 150 years. The man behind one of the most financially devastating cons of all time would die of hypertension and chronic kidney disease at the age of 82. We're never getting any of that money back, are we? The observation deck in the crown of the Statue of Liberty was closed immediately after the events of September 11, 2001. But while the rest of the statue reopened in 2004, the crown wouldn't reopen until 2009, appropriately enough, on July 4th. Accessing the crown, however, means climbing a 168-step spiral staircase, which had new handrails installed while it was closed. Couldn't Lady Liberty have an escalator? On July 17th, legendary TV news anchor Walter Cronkite died of cerebral vascular disease in his Manhattan home at the age of 92. The most prominent anchorman of television's golden age, Cronkite sat behind the desk at CBS News from 1962 to 1981 and was long known as the most trusted man in America. Then, on July 22nd, the heavens aligned, creating a total solar eclipse, the period of the eclipse in which the moon completely covered the sun, which astronomers call the totality, lasted an astounding 6 minutes and 39 seconds, making it, as of August 2024, the longest total solar eclipse of the 21st century. Where is Bonnie Tyler when you need her? Baseball fans at Chicago's Cellular Field witnessed history on July 23rd when Mark Burley of the White Sox became just the 18th pitcher to ever throw a perfect game.
I did a no-hitter. I was surprised this committee would not do that.
The win, which also constituted the 263rd no-hitter in the history of the sport, came at the expense of the Tampa Bay Rays. In June of 2009, North Korea sentenced 2 American reporters to 12 years of hard labor for illegal entry and engaging in hostile acts. But on August 4th, former President Bill Clinton met with Kim Jong-il to secure their release. The visit, which came while the U.S. and Korea were at odds over nuclear weapons, was the first such visit by a former president since Jimmy Carter in 1994.
When we walked through the doors, we saw President Bill Clinton. We knew the nightmare of our lives was finally coming to an end.
An era in American politics came to an end on August 25th when Senator Ted Kennedy died of brain cancer at his home in Hyannisport, Massachusetts at the age of 77. The brother of 2 iconic politicians, President John F. Kennedy and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, Ted Kennedy served in the Senate for 50 years under 10 different presidents. Citing an inability to work with his brother Liam even a day longer, guitarist Noel Gallagher quit the British pop rock band Oasis on August 28th. While the famously contentious brothers were often at each other's throats, neither had ever actually quit before. That wall is looking less wondery every day. On August 31st, the Walt Disney Company announced it had agreed to acquire Marvel Entertainment for $4.24 billion.
The acquisition of Marvel offers a unique opportunity to grow our businesses and to build long-term value for our shareholders.
The move, which came just 5 years after Disney bought the Muppets and 3 years after they bought Pixar, would give Disney ownership of one of the most iconic collections of superheroes in history. Maybe they could make some kind of cinematic universe with all that stuff. Just an idea.
Don't do commercials. It's not my thing. Conan, this is different. It's a ton of money, and it's only going to be seen in Sweden. All the Hollywood guys do this. This one commercial couldn't hurt. Bud Light.
Vroom, vroom, der party starter. Vroom, vroom, party starter. Hey, Conan. Vroom, vroom, party starter. Party starter.
After a 20-month battle with pancreatic cancer, actor Patrick Swayze passed away on September 14th at the age of 57.
Together we can make the world where cancer no longer means living with fear, without hope, or worse.
People magazine's Sexiest Man Alive of 1991, Swayze was famous for his appearances in iconic films like Roadhouse, Dirty Dancing, and Point Break. He died with his wife and brother at his side, and his ashes were scattered on his New Mexico ranch, just like Dalton would have wanted.
Tell me exactly what you did with your life to end up here so I don't make the same mistakes!
Excuse me! But it's springtime, and I thought I might woo a few chicks. No one to watch while we're kissing. Hey! What the heck?
Is that Archer?
God damn it.
About your operations account.
Not, Cyril, not now.
I'm sure you wouldn't use operational funds for personal expenses.
After 72 years and over 15,000 episodes, the soap opera Guiding Light finally ended its run on September 18th. The ultra-long running series started as a radio broadcast back in 1937 and made the jump to television in 1952. The big finale ended with its two main characters getting married and driving off together in search of adventure.
Now, who is coconuts enough to divorce you?
But we'll see you around.
Well, we'll have to have you over sometime.
I'd love it.
All right.
Bye.
She's awesome.
No, we are never having her over. Heard she already slept with 2 dads from the school.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible.
Tragedy struck on October 14th when pro wrestling villain turned pop culture icon Captain Lou Albano died of a heart attack at 76.
No, I'm the Captain David. I'm merely the guiding light. I dub myself as the captain. I'm the maker of 14 tag team champions, and that's what the name Captain came from.
In addition to wrestling, Albano was known for his appearance as Cyndi Lauper's father in the iconic Girls Just Want to Have Fun music video and his role as Super Mario on the live-action TV series.
Just like that!
On October 25th, Ivanka Trump, daughter of real estate developer and future U.S. President Donald Trump, married Jared Kushner at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Over 500 guests attended the wedding. Hope people yelled "for" in time. 13 years later, Donald Trump would bury his ex-wife Ivana on the very same golf course after she died from injuries sustained during a fall at her New York home. The burial sparked rumors that Trump was trying to save money on taxes via a loophole that exempted cemetery companies. But others pointed out that Trump himself had expressed a desire to be buried on that same golf course. Would his grave be on a par 5 or 3 or... After 6 months of beta testing, Riot Games released the multiplayer online battle arena video game League of Legends as a free-to-play title on October 27th. The original version came with 40 champions, and within 3 short years, League of Legends would become the single most played video game in the world. Take that, Minecraft guys! On November 4th, the New York Yankees beat the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 6 of the World Series at Yankee Stadium.
To the second baseman, Cano. The Yankees are back on top.
The 7-3 victory would win the Bronx Bombers a record 27th World Championship. Outfielder Hideki Matsui won the World Series MVP award and looked good in pinstripes doing it. The following day, November 5th, U.S. Army Major and psychiatrist Nadal Hassan shot and killed 13 people and wounded 43 others at Fort Hood, Texas. The shooting, which as of August 2024 remains the deadliest mass shooting on an American military base, was motivated by Hassan's radical religious views. He was sentenced to death for his crime and, as of August 2024, remains incarcerated awaiting execution. On November 23rd, 58 people were killed in the town of Ampatuan in the Philippines' southern province of Maguindanao del Sur. The victims of what would become known as the Maguindanao Massacre, which included 30 journalists and the wife of a popular politician, were buried in a shallow grave on a hilltop. The slayings were over a local power struggle, and it would be 10 years before the perpetrators were finally tried and sentenced to life in prison. Released on November 23rd, Susan Boyle's debut record, I Dreamed a Dream, would go on to become the year's best-selling album. Boyle rose to fame on the competition show Britain's Got Talent, where she ultimately finished second despite being widely favored to win. Nonetheless, she was quickly signed to Simon Cowell's record label, and that guy's a grump, so you know she's good. On December 10th, President Barack Obama showed up in Oslo to accept the Nobel Peace Prize.
The nonviolence practiced by men like Gandhi and King may not have been practical or possible in every circumstance, but the love that they preached, that must always be the North Star that guides us on our journey.
Obama had been nominated 12 days after becoming president in 2008 for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples. The decision made Obama the fourth U.S. president to receive the award after Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, and Jimmy Carter. Carter went to North Korea and won the Peace Prize. That guy's got versatility. A day later, on December 11th, the Finnish puzzle video game Angry Birds was released internationally for iOS. In fact, the year 2009 influenced its character design, as the now iconic enemy pigs were selected because of the swine flu epidemic. Within 5 years, the game would be downloaded over 2 billion times. Mario, Minecraft, and League of Legends guys, maybe y'all can team up.
Listen to me, you're not used to your avatar body. This is dangerous.
This is great.
Hey, Marine!
Grace?
Well, who'd you expect, numbnuts?
Finally, at 10:04 a.m. on December 20th, actress Brittany Murphy died of cardiac arrest brought on by pneumonia at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The 32-year-old Murphy, famous for her roles in Clueless, King of the Hill, and 8 Mile, was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills, California. And that's how 2009 ended, with a sudden passing of a young star, gamers flinging birds at pigs, and everyone wishing they could run through the forest of Pandora and fly around on one of those dragon things. The world had changed forever, and the next decade wouldn't be any easier. But as for the aughts, well, folks, that's all she wrote. So what do you think? What was your fondest memory of 2009? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other timeline videos.